Welcome to the second episode of the Whitepill Wednesday podcast. Let me just double check one last thing and we'll get right started. Welcome to the background playing. Don't want that to overload anything. Guess it's not coming through. That's all right. I'll have it for myself. Anyways, yeah. I don't know. Let's get right into it. I mean, I found these two stories earlier on the feed. One of which is just showing how impressive the AI video gen has been. So check this out. Let me actually pause that real quick. So this is a music video that's made by these guys called Door Brothers. They're, I mean, I assume it's their name is Brothers, but I don't know what it is, whether it's a collective or what. But they make all these AI videos that are like pretty fucking good. I mean, here I'll play you a little bit of this song. Quicker than Federer. I serve packing a bags bag on a regular. And I'ma tell her how she sing for me cheap. Like, that's good. I click Amazon bang, I'm not saying. I feel it's with the lead like a mukbang. The magazine made me lean when I woke in the drumstick will make a net bang. That's pretty good.
It's not bad.
Like, that is not half bad. They got Putin in there, they got Kim Jong-un. Hillary Clinton.
Why is Hillary Clinton in a gang with a bunch of black people? What the hell?
I don't know, man.
Damn.
Kim Jong-un. Like, this is really good quality.
The fucking barrel cameras.
Yeah, anyways, so I found these guys. They've apparently made all these like different commercials and whatnot for the all these different companies. Like, here, let me just peep their site for a second. Yeah, they've made a number of these music videos. Oh, they made one for the game. Snoop Dogg, yeah, they had a collab with Snoop Dogg. And this one, like, yeah, you can tell easily that like it's clearly AI generated, but I mean they got enough for like Snoop Dogg to collab with them.
30 niggas from the projects, we still get fly. It's hard to get me out of mind when she feel me inside. Body temperature gon' rise if she next.
Holy shit, that is really good quality.
Mm.
And they've had some commercials too. This one actually just appeared on the
What the
New York
fuck?
Times or Times Square building.
And they didn't even have to bring a real bull.
Or a bear.
Oh, the bear is hella AI generated. Bull's a little bit more believable. What the fuck?
I don't know, man. They're dancing.
Bring a real bull.
Or a bear.
Oh, the bear is hella.
What the fuck?
What is even 2024 anymore?
I don't know, man.
What is even Earth? I don't understand.
I don't know, man. But
I want to watch a bear clapping fucking cheeks. Like,
looks pretty fucking
this is a
cool.
commercial for who?
Yeah, they made one for Boss. They made one for like the soda. They made it for some AI wearable.
Tesla Cybertruck.
Yeah, this one is more like concept. It's not like
Oh.
it's not like they actually like made it for Tesla. Like,
No, of course.
But damn, if that's not good.
Why does it not look like it has the right shape of a Cybertruck?
I Oh, it has the shape.
I don't think AI got the shape right.
Oh, yeah, I see what you mean.
AI, you fucked up the Cybertruck.
Dude, it looks
You fucked it up.
looks gnarly though.
It looks like it fucking hit the side of a wall. What do you mean?
It's a good-looking commercial, man, and it's not even like a real commercial.
Oh yeah, the commercial, sure. Just making fun of the fucking.
Yeah. But yeah, so they made a bunch of these, and this latest one that they had with the music video with fucking Putin and everything, that one was pretty good. They also made one with Trump. It's like Eyes Wide Shut.
Jesus!
Wheeling him out.
Unreal! With the fucking ice cream. Oh shit!
Big Mike.
Oh shit!
Oh, pizza.
Fucking
Pizzagate. Yeah, AI generation.
Why does he ride in on a horse?
Because that famous photo. You never seen?
No, I know. Well, yeah, no, I've seen it. Trust me.
Oh, there's 181 stock.
I've seen it. Yeah, there it is in all its glory. Didn't need to see that again.
AI gen is fucking crazy. I just saw it the other day. I was like, damn, man, they're moving real quick with this. Things are about to get real weird.
Yeah. I saw a video recently. I can't remember what it was. It was like an entire, show title sequence. I can't remember the show or anything really, and it was all AI generated. It didn't look half bad, but apparently it got fucking like ripped. God, I wish I could remember what it was for.
It's getting better.
But it didn't even look that bad. Like I thought it was a cool intro sequence.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, I think it's gonna get to the point where like you get to go out on an airplane and you can literally type out a sequence of words for what kind of stuff you want to see, and it's just gonna show you a movie with that plot, which is gonna completely erase like the need for not erase it, but really diminish the need for like the giant studios in Hollywood and whatnot.
I don't know. Do you think people are that imaginative though, or do you think people will be content watching the same style of movie over and over and over again?
No, but like
that's the thing is now people got to be fucking imaginative with this shit. Like, oh, I want to see something new, and what do you start doing? You start throwing in a bunch of word fucking salads in the hopes that it'll pop out a movie you like, or you just give it the same general prompts because you know that's what works for you. That's what will at least satisfy you to some degree.
Well, so here's an example of where you actually don't even need that.
Oh, great! Just let the internet do the thinking for me too. Why don't you?
Well, like this is an answer to what you were saying.
Prompt generators, yes. Okay, yeah, you know what? Yeah, let the internet do the thinking for me. Fuck it. You know what? I don't even want to watch the movie I want to watch. I want to watch the movie the internet wants to watch.
Like if I just type in movie about a cat and dog hero story, I'm sure it'll get.
Yeah, but how many times can you type that in? Or a movie about so-and-so hero story, movie about princess hero story, movie about this, whatever. You know, you keep the same basic...
Yeah, here it is.
High fantasy, blue
sky. Give me 3 different prompts right then and there.
What the fuck? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and this is for an image generator, so this is not the same thing as video, but I would imagine for like movies and whatnot, they would include like basic story structure ideas, maybe some the themes and plot points. Like there is a generic like a hero story diagram that writers use whenever talking about like a conflict. So you have the departure, the initiation, the return, and so on and so forth. Ordinary world, call of adventure, refusal. So you could add this to a prompt, right? You could add this like to the AI model, whatever they use, so that it fulfills each and every step. You can change the dialogue. Like the way that I imagine it, if they're gonna simplify and dumb it down, is just give you a bunch of options to pick from. Like, what kind of a setting do you want to have? What kind of an attitude do you want your characters to have? Just a quick, like, 5-second little thing, 10 questions, and it can extrapolate from that and make you something. It'll even, like, probably even be able to wind up like a trailer for you so that you could be like just ahead of time. You're like, oh, this is what it looks like. Okay, yeah, I'll generate this. Why not? And then with prompt generators, like that just makes it that much easier. You know.
Yeah, the future's fucking weird.
I don't know. It's gonna be cool. It's gonna be cool because now you're gonna be able to take like every movie that you've ever enjoyed. I mean, theoretically, run it through um, an AI that you can run locally because as hardware improves and all this stuff improves, like you'll be able to run these models locally, which you can't even now, the smaller ones, anyways. Um, or you can host it on a server, you know, and then like it's only if the server goes down that you have an issue. But yeah, there's tons of these kind of little programs and software that you can use for that kind of stuff. So yeah, I could literally just like watch. I could ask it to make me a movie about Inglorious Bastards. Just take that entire movie and then be like, okay, so what if the Nazis actually won? And then the whole movie plays out until the end or whenever, and then the edits kick in, and that's it. I mean, that's gonna be much harder because of licensing and whatnot, but like that's just an example.
Yeah, I don't know how licensing is going to work with AI though.
I think that it might just be so overwhelming that you're not going to be able to actually track it. But then again, you can use AI to scour the web for any instances of your content being played and like or used for commercial purposes without your explicit permission, which I don't see why they wouldn't. Like if you have
Well,
AI tools that are able to already scan the web for certain things, like why wouldn't you be able to track it on that? Like I said, it's only if you have it like on your own like home server or something that it's not going to be, you know, it's a lot more difficult to track something like that.
I love that the internet is just going to be a space for AI warfare. just just creating and hunting down shit all the time.
Well, it's already happening now, right? Like with YouTube, there's or even like Twitch VODs, like there's going to be parts of it that are muted because Sony or whomever is that's holding the copyright is like had a copyright strike. So if you go to replay a Twitch VOD and it has some of that music, it's going to be muted
Yeah,
automatically
but
because Twitch
but it's
because
still
Twitch doesn't.
being but the original content is still being generated over time. It's not just another AI model popping shit off.
What do you mean?
You're talking about AI creating these things, creating these movies or memes or images or generating songs or whatnot. And then you're talking about a separate AI hunting down copyrighted, uh, essentially segments of code at that point, um, to be able to nip all this like copyright infringement in the butt.
Right.
Yeah. Well, at the moment, the examples you're giving, the Twitch VODs and all this, it's still being generated over time. It's not an AI just popping shit out. Because that's what's going to happen.
Well, yeah, like once AI is able, yeah, once it accelerates to that point, then yeah, and then they're just going to use an AI to track all that. I don't see why they wouldn't. It's the same thing that they do now, except it's used with AI.
That's funny.
Yeah, it's probably where we're headed. I mean, I don't know. That's difficult to say because, like, with AI copyright, like, how does that work? Like, what portion of what you generated is actually informed by AI? Does that mean that like portions of a generated image or video can be monetized and others can't? Like, at what point does it cross the boundary of you know freedom of use?
Mhm.
I don't know. That's going to be a real hard thing to decide. But in any case, just a little thing that I found the other day with the music video there. Another piece of good news that I found, or at least interesting news, is that Neuralink has actually just announced that they are starting their first round of tests with Canada.
I was gonna say Neuralink is launching their new video game championship tournament. Is that
Eventually, they will. Yeah, I'd imagine.
100%.
Being able to game without a mouse and just brain inputs. But yeah, so they've apparently received approval from Health Canada, and now they're starting to recruit for their first clinical trials in Canada. So they'll probably get a couple of candidates off of MAID and people that can be tested on, which is great. I mean, fucking yeah, that's awesome. So far, so good. Like we just have what is his name? Wheelchair. It's something about forget his username.
Wheelchair baddies? What the fuck?
Okay, no, that's awful. No, where I had him in my notifications.
Mark, what are you searching up on Twitter?
Where is it? Modded Quad. Yeah, this guy right here. I forget his name, but he's like the current candidate with the Neuralink. He can actually play Civilization on it.
Yeah.
He's been clicking through it. So yeah, now they're moving on to Canada, which is great. Like, why the fuck not? People that are at end of life care or that are extremely disabled, like they should absolutely have this opportunity. I'd rather have them do it than start on healthy people with God knows what the fuck will happen.
A volunteer's tribute.
Would you do it eventually if the tech was good enough and it was hack proof?
Just to interact with
anything digitally
technology.
Anything digitally has the app. Your phone, your computer, your fucking smart TV.
Probably not. It just seems like one of those unnecessary risks to me. Like it's like even if it was like a 0.01% risk of anything ever going wrong at any point, it's like it just seems unnecessary. Why? I don't know. I don't see a good enough reason to do it. Other than having my ass handed to me by my friends in fucking Rocket League or something because I don't have my Neuralink. I'd have to be bullied into getting it.
Yeah, I mean, like
because what else does he do with it? He plays Pong. Was that a monkey?
Yeah, they're showing a monkey test it. But
yeah, so he plays chess.
Yeah, he's able to like click on the pieces and whatnot. But eventually, like the idea is to you would be able to use this to boost your cognitive ability to be connected to the internet, which I don't know how that interface would work, but apparently that's the goal.
Well, I thought this was more of like a medical thing. Like if you could attach, like this man is quadriplegic, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you could attach a receptor to the severed portion of his nervous system, he could send signals directly through the Neuralink to the receiver and the rest of his nervous system and regain like functionality. That's what I thought this was about.
That's what it's starting with. Like that's the.
Okay, well, no, that's kind of the end point. If we can cure paralysis, I think that's a huge win. What do you mean? What do we need more for?
No. Like that's obviously a huge win, or like restoring sight to the blind, which they also want to do. But ultimately, like if you're talking about actual commercial applications and not just something that's used in edge cases, then why wouldn't they put the efforts into making it so that you can interact with just about every, I don't know, digital screen, surface, what have you. I don't even know what the right word for all that would be, but yeah, like why not? Why shouldn't you be able to just walk up to a screen or computer or whatever, just automatically use it, just like much quicker? Like imagine, and like it's right now it's like a cursor behavior, but imagine if you could later be like, as you're thinking about something, you're like, okay, I need to move these files. I have an idea of where they are located in my system to like this location as I'm doing this thing or what have you. Like just multitasking on your computer in general. Um, I feel like that could potentially prove to be useful. And then also, like, once again, like, what about like when this turns into gaming? Like, are you going to be able to somehow adapt that to Steam or what have you? Just like mouse keyboard controls. Like, how do you actually map that layout? I don't know, but I feel like that's probably the next step. And then how would like even internet connectivity work? Does that mean that you have like a HUD display in your eyes of like are you able to browse stuff, or are you just reliant on the screens that are external to you? I don't know. I genuinely don't know.
Buddy, I saw a speedometer projected onto a windshield for the first time today. So I'm at a completely different level.
Oh, yeah, I've seen those. Yeah,
Yeah.
they have it on the yeah, like this. Yeah.
No, not even. It's reflected off the dash.
Yeah, no, like these are all devices, but I mean like that's essentially what it would look like.
Like it's not even. No, it's not even projecting.
Oh, it's this one, right? The Toyota Prius.
Yeah. Well. Okay, I guess the Prius has that, but no, this was a. I was in a. It's not the Suburban. Fuck. A Yukon? I can't remember.
But yeah, I know what you mean.
Oh yeah. And I was like, oh shit, that actually makes a lot of sense. Because when I was a kid, I was always told like, don't put anything on the dash of your car because it reflects off the windshield and fucks with your vision. And I'm like, somebody took that and was like, you know what? I'm gonna put a screen on it and reflected it right under the fucking windshield. I'm like, that's fucking genius. Oh god, these things.
Yeah,
The Google Glass.
This is what I was leading to, because eventually, like, you could, I could see this actually being a thing in the long
Well,
term. Because like
what's the Ray-Bans they have right now? The Meta Ray-Bans. Aren't those pretty much the same thing?
No, so
Or are they just a video recorder?
yeah, these don't have a heads-up display. This is just video
No?
recording, but it can record very, very, very high quality video. Like if I look up Meta Ray-Bans
Whatever.
on Twitter, I should definitely get some.
I had like a friggin' $30 pair of fucking phony ass plastic spy glasses that had a video in them. I could put an SD card in and did the same thing.
Yeah, but not a 1080p like this.
1080p didn't exist when I had those things.
Yeah, that's what I mean. This is like the next step.
Yeah, and how much are these? How much are these fucking Ray-Bans?
I think they're like $300.
Yeah, fucking right.
Mm, 400 or 369, which actually isn't all that bad for what you're getting. Like that's
$369 for the girl ones.
yeah, and then these two. Yeah, that's like. I mean,
I thought they had like a heads-up display. I thought that was the whole shit. I thought we were moving on to like the bigger, better version of the Google Glass because I feel like the Google Glass came out. They had the commercial there. Do you remember the Google Glass commercial?
Can't say I have, but I'll pull it up here.
It wasn't bad. It was one of those things that way back in the day made you go like, oh man, this would be really cool to have.
Oh, here it is.
That is not the one I'm talking about. What the fuck is this?
Yeah, this is Yeah, this is an ad. Yeah. Which one did you see? What, this one?
Yes. Yes, that one. And it just casually opens with a hot air balloon ride.
Okay, Glass. Record a video.
This is it. We're on in 2 minutes.
Okay, Glass. Hang out with the Flying Club.
Google photos of tiger heads. You ready? You ready?
Right there. Okay, Glass. Take a picture.
The weird part is having to say "okay, Glass" every single time. That would bug the shit out of me. Like, you're just in the middle of a conversation and you remember something, you're like, "Okay, Glass, do this for me."
How else are you supposed to, like, it makes sense that it has an activation, but when I think Neuralink, I think about shit like this without having to wear anything physically on my face. Because, like, they had the scene with the ballerina being like, we're going on stage, and it's like, not with the Google Glass on your face, you're not, bitch.
The weird
Ain't nobody performing fucking...
Glass every single time.
Ain't nobody performing fucking, the Nutcracker with Google Glass on their face.
Yeah, no, that is not happening.
So when I think Neuralink, I think like this shit.
Yeah.
But like in my fucking retina. You know?
Yeah, that's what I meant. Like, I don't know how they would work in a heads-up display into that, whether it would be like an additional wearable or what.
No, fuck wearable. Project that shit right onto my fucking retina. Do it. Like, just put a tiny little projector in my fucking brain, in my orbital cavity, my ocular cavity, and fucking shine that shit right on my eye.
They could. Yeah. Or make
Well, that's what I was, okay, well, if that's what Neuralink was right now, I'd get it 110% over again. Are you kidding me? That'd be wild. Just for that alone. I wouldn't even care about anything else.
Yeah, that could very well be like what it becomes. There's no telling. There's absolutely no telling.
Brain in my orbital cavity, I think eventually ocular cavity, and fucking shine that shit right on my eye.
Why?
Well, yeah, that was the commercial. Where, like, you saw right off the bat, it was like, oh, hot air balloon. I just have this little screen in the corner, and obviously that's not what it looks like when you wear Google Glass. It doesn't look that clean, right? But that's the dream that they aspire to. And I feel like after that, I saw that commercial, I thought, okay, Google Glass is going to be the new, big step in tech. And then nothing fucking happened. Like, you didn't hear about it. I don't know. I didn't know anybody that owned them. I never saw anybody wearing them.
No, I don't. I wonder what happened to
Google jellyfish.
Aren't more people wearing those Meta Quests or whatever these days? Like out in public, is that what they're wearing? And I feel like after that, I saw that commercial. I thought.
I mean, I've seen a couple people on my Twitter record like clips and post them on them.
No. They're wearing those like big ass headsets out in public. I can't remember. Maybe that's bullshit. I don't remember where I saw them. I never saw anybody.
Okay. So it looks like 8,000 individuals were invited to be Glass Explorers in early 2013. They were selected through a Twitter campaign and were required to pay $1,500 to obtain the device. They were invited to pick up their units at Google, and then so they became.
They received training.
Yeah, you would have to, and it was discontinued, and they stopped production on the prototype in 2015. So there's still like a bunch of Google Glasses out there.
Yeah. But they're only in production for 2 years.
Barely, it just wasn't taken off.
Well, because they were goofy kind of looking, right? But then you see something like the Meta Ray-Bans, and you think, okay, well, take Google Glass and now put it into a pair of stylish head sunglasses, and there you go. Why not?
Yeah, and there's also the issue of like battery life too. I wonder what is the battery life
Ooh.
on the Ray-Bans?
When are we gonna all set up Tesla coils already for wireless charging, so we have to stop worrying about this shit?
I don't know enough to refute that, but I feel like that would be very dangerous. There's up to 4 hours on a single charge under moderate usage. Interesting. And obviously, yeah, weather impacts this. 5 hours, yeah. And how would you?
That's not bad.
How would you even like? Well, you'd have to like take it on and off and on and off and whatnot. Could probably be useful for like something like maybe university lectures. If you already have glasses, as long as you
I feel like recording for the whole period would be considered heavy usage.
True.
You know. But again, if it had that little browsing window in it, you know.
You mean like this little part here?
Yeah. Well, basically like the little Google Glass screen.
Yeah.
And you put it in the top corner of the glasses, right? Like those ones almost. Except you just integrated it into the lens, and then you turned them into Ray-Bans. Like if it had something like that, and you make that screen LEDs or a projector, so that doesn't take up that much power, you could surf the web for hours. So at that point, it basically becomes like a smartphone. Because you're not going to be Googling shit for hours and hours just sitting there, right? You're going to go about, you're going to do something, you're going to be in the store, and you're going to be like, oh, I wonder how much these are over at the Metro. And then you go, hey, Ray-Bans or something. I don't know. I know you hate the phrase, but it's like it's the only activation sequence we got. I don't know, Excelsior, how's that? Say whatever the fuck you want for your activation. What are those?
So these are apparently the cutting edge glasses, but made
Them's
by
a
Meta.
thick.
Yeah. And they're making with AI and AR. They had the announcement some time ago, but yeah, they are certainly quite thick, but instead of like creating a heads-up display, they did augmented reality, which probably makes a little bit more sense. So that you're not limited to whatever lens size or whatever the hell, you're limited to just what you're looking at. But they are extremely thick, yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. I feel like AR could definitely be the way to go too. Damn, we do not have the tech though. Those are not stylish looking. Those are wild.
They are thick. They are.
What is that? What was that? Does it have a remote?
Oh, I guess you have to.
Puck.
I guess you have to carry that with you.
Huh. Hey guys, has anybody seen my compute puck?
Yeah. I'm not sure how it works, to be quite honest with you, but
do you have to wear the wrist? What's the wristband? Like
I genuinely. Oh, it's
right there.
For gestures. For gestures, like if you need.
Oh.
Yeah, if you're like.
Do I have to wear rings on each finger too, so they can?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like that's the thing. Like once this actually like doesn't become a wearable and it instead becomes an implant, what does that actually look like?
Just give me the Nintendo Power Glove and be done with it.
Yeah, but I could definitely see people doing like body mods for this kind of stuff eventually, so that you don't have to
100%.
wearable, and you can instead just get an implant on your finger or something.
And someone has to build that and believe in it.
Damn.
Meta invented a damn time machine. Hi, Nora. Daddy's calling from the future. I'm wearing these amazing AR glasses that you'll probably use when you grow up.
Like the baby gives a
10
fuck.
years, The form factor is just going to keep on getting smaller and smaller, and eventually we're going to have what looks like normal-looking glasses.
You're looking at the culmination of decades of breakthrough inventions in nearly every field of computing. It's one of the hardest challenges the tech industry's ever attempted. See, Orion is a time machine. It'll let Meta live in the future as they build the next generation of AR experiences. Now let me nerd out for a second, because this is a technological marvel. The display isn't made of glass. It's made of silicon carbide, which delivers an unprecedented 70-degree field of view. That means Meta engineers figured out how to bend light beams in ways it does not like to bend. The frames are made of magnesium, just like an F1 car, because it's light and radiates away heat. I mean, you can't just put a fan in glasses. Orion cools itself by glowing. It uses the same materials NASA uses to cool satellites in space. You have to be absurdly determined to build something like this. But competitiveness runs deep around here. Mark wouldn't even let me beat him at Pong.
But then, of course, the full vision is you just have like a full field of view, holograms where, you know, we're...
Yeah, this goes on and on and on. But yeah, this seems to be the next step.
having this conversation in the future and like...
Fuck off. Yeah, cool shit. Anyways, fucking got off topic a little bit there, but yeah, man, wearables are gonna be fucking nuts. Wearables are absolutely gonna be fucking nuts.
Well, I remember back when I was doing Sport Check, I think it was Adidas, was talking about putting tech in like the sleeve of their running jackets. I don't know whatever became of that. Because it makes sense to have like a multimedia controller on like the outside of your running jacket or something.
Yeah, they can literally just sew parts of this into clothing, where like you're like you don't even have to wear anything. Your clothing already has whatever the thing is. It's just like an extra stitching or an extra layer or what have you.
Mm.
Yeah.
And then we have Bluetooth, like anything else.
Well, what bothered me, you know what? We'll finish this off. We had the fucking, what was it? Apple, is it Apple Vision? Yeah, Apple Vision Pro. There was a commercial that kind of threw me for a loop. I think it's this one. Where's the one with where the lady's sitting on the plane? She decides to watch a movie. Oh yeah, here it is. Here it is.
Oh, yeah, I think it's these that people have been seen walking around with.
That part right there, that swipe that she made. Oh yeah, goodbye outside world. Yeah, and there have been people that like have been like out and about wearing this. I'm sure there's tons of fucking memes on X about this. Oh yeah, and there's a battery that you have to carry too. This little pouch.
Yeah, yeah.
Also, that is an awful place to put it. If that's the airline shit, because yeah, for anyone that's not aware, airplanes are fucking dirty as all hell because the crew only has a limited amount of time to clean it before the next people come on board, and babies fly too, and moms need to put their diapers somewhere. So, just so you're aware. But anyways, let me see if I can find it. Then when it came out, there was like a ton of people that were wearing them in like coffee shops and whatnot. Come on, really.
Making Currents was about opening my mind to the possibilities of immersive filmmaking.
No, this is filmmaking. Damn, I can't find it. But yeah, there were just straight up people like taking these to the cafe or whatnot and just like sitting in it. It's just, it's weird. Like you see them and they're just so unplugged from everyone else around them. Oh yeah, like
It's like I want to be a part of reality, but also not.
Selectively.
Like I need to be out and about, but I don't want to be involved with anything that's going on around me.
Yeah, you want to be able to choose what parts of reality interact with. I mean, I could see this like stuff being really useful.
Selective perception is wild.
Yeah. Like this is a really cool application of it. Like you essentially you have the display of your Mac, so all the compute power is in your computer, and you're taking photos in the live, and you can see in real time exactly what it looks like. I mean, for photo editing, I don't know if I'd use them just because like you really hope that the color matching between all the screens and everything does work. But this is a pretty interesting application of it.
Yeah, that's solid.
Or anything that's like, I don't know if you're like world building for a game or what have you, like that's really useful if you're trying to sculpt out like what a car would look like. I could see that being incredibly useful for engineers, especially. I feel like that would also be fairly useful. I mean, yeah, you also have the application just like just sitting somewhere and watching like a show or what have you. But you know, you could just get a TV. Damn, I can't find any memes. Am I really gonna have to add meme to this? Oh, this is like a concept app. Oh, where you could add a deepfake to people's faces.
What are you doing?
Deepfake live.
Interesting. You could probably
That's
do that.
crazy. You could probably do that.
You could probably do that eventually. I mean, there was that one case where what was it?
Dude, could you imagine? Okay, so check this out. Could you imagine if, say, you and your significant other both wore the Google
Glass.
Fuck. No, the Apple Visions, the Apple Vision Pros, and then you could put a filter on to remove the other person's Apple Vision Pro from their face.
What do you mean?
So that when you look at each other, you see like just your bare face, but you're actually both wearing the Vision Pros.
Yeah, you could.
You could do that.
Well, here's the one regarding this is for the Meta
We
sunglasses.
built glasses that let you identify anybody on the street. The information our tool collects from just a photo of your face is staggering.
To use it, you just put the glasses on, then as you walk by people, the glasses will detect when somebody's face is in frame. This photo is used to analyze them, and after a few seconds, their personal information pops up on your phone.
Oh, this is me volunteering. June Lee, right?
Yeah.
What?
This photo was created. This is like from.
So what they did was they made an app that would take photos of face with using facial detection, and then they would cross-reference that with any Facebook postings, LinkedIn postings, fucking I don't know, any database that they could check it against.
Any academies?
And it would give you
Your Korean name is June.
Like their name, address, everything.
Oh, hi, ma'am. Wait, are you Betsy?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I think I met you through like the Cambridge Community Foundation, right? Yeah. It's great to meet you. I'm Kane.
Oh, isn't that fucking?
Oh wait.
Oh, that's fucking wild.
Is this person working on like minority stuff for like Muslims in India at all or something?
Yeah.
Really? Yeah. Are you Kashif?
Yes.
Oh, I've read your work before. It's super cool. I'm Anfu. Nice to meet you. Oh, I love.
Anfu, get in frame.
Oh, okay. But,
Jesus, this is fucked.
Yeah, and this is some students that fucking hacked this.
This is fucked. See, that's fucked.
Yeah.
You can just fabricate
social interaction.
Yeah, no, you're just fabricating people. Like you're not a real person anymore. You're not.
Yeah, you just look them up.
Yo,
and
sit
that's it.
down, Master of Disguise. Holy fuck.
Yeah.
What a mind fuck.
Yeah, I mean this apparently the software has existed for a while, but these guys clearly tweaked it so that it just completely, I mean, yeah, it just flips it on its head. So like how long before this becomes a regular everyday application and all the stuff that we're doing that's cool with Google Glass and all that doesn't sound all that cool anymore. Yeah, I don't know. Very concerning stuff, but yeah, wild times that we live in. I'm actually gonna
But is it really worth being concerned over anymore? Like, none of your secrets are secrets these days. It doesn't fucking matter. Like, that's kind of the mindset I'm at. I'm at the mindset that anybody could buy my information from some company that I once accidentally opened an email on or clicked an ad for, or had to fill in information on a government website that the database got leaked or hacked or some such shit, or the information was sold. Like, I'm convinced all my information's out there at this point, so I don't really give too much of a fuck.
No, that's a fair reaction to have. It's just like for the individual, it's very difficult for anything to be done against this. But I mean, like, this is kind of, I don't know. In an ideal world, I would hope that the government has something to offer in terms of a solution when it comes to stuff like this. Because like this is not something that any individual civilian can do anything against. Like you said, the information that we put out there can be bought and paid for 1,000 times over. I mean, if eventually Web3 comes online and everything exists on the blockchain, including our data, that's going to be very difficult, or make it that much more difficult to get like more personal data. But like, what happens with facial recognition from like just Facebook profiles? You know, how does that work? Like, you can't really just stop that. And who's to say like there isn't a database that's being built somewhere by like not even a government, but by somebody independent to take advantage of this all, just scanning photos of people's faces and creating profiles for them. Yeah, I mean, there's no telling where that could lead.
Well, and who's to say that the old web won't continue? Right?
Because Web 3.0 seems a lot more intriguing, and a lot of infrastructure that's gonna be creating to sustain it is already being built. So like it's kind of the next like natural evolution, where people are just sick and tired of their shit being stolen all the time. And
yeah, exactly. But like you just said, then what would be considered the old web will just become an information mine.
Well, it's been an information mine.
Yeah, but it's going to continue to be so for a long time.
Yeah.
It's anybody who's anybody is on fucking the internet right now.
Yeah, like how do you can't really wipe those server. I don't even know. Yeah, I don't even know like how you would even look at that. So, you know, privacy's kind of been out the window, and it might only just accelerate. Who the fuck knows, man? Who the fuck knows? Wild times we live in.
Well, that's the thing. I'm sure there's a way to somehow dig up my old Facebook profile.
Yeah,
I'm sure it's possible.
And then with the Internet Archive, that'll that'll actually make it even that much more difficult. Yeah. Exciting times. Exciting times. Anyways, I wanted to get into the Ukraine war stuff. I did a little bit of research into like just like what's happened so far. So apparently Russia has had like 450,000 casualties compared to Ukraine's 35,000. I didn't know the discrepancy was that large.
Well, the media wouldn't have you believe that, would they? Because a lot of the stuff I've seen is like, oh, look at this Ukrainian jerry-rigged drone with an RPG hanging from a string blow up a Russian tank, and in your back of your mind you go, damn, Ukraine's kicking ass. And then you hear a number like that and you go, oh, they're getting their shit pushed in.
Well, no,
I've just been fed this propaganda.
The Russians have lost 450,000. Ukraine has only lost 35,000.
Oh, 450,000. Oh, I had that number completely off.
Yeah, that's the Russian military losses. Ukraine is.
Oh, okay. So I was right. So Ukraine is kicking their asses, and fuck yeah, random drones with RPGs hanging from strings. Either way.
Yeah, and apparently around 175 billion has been spent by the U.S. alone to support the war up until now. That's just the U.S.
175 billion?
Yeah, the figures that
What
I have
the
here,
fuck?
it's well, at least this source says 183 billion. European Union has sent 12. UK has sent 15.5. Canada 12, and then other allies.
$12 billion?
Yeah.
Yo, what must be out of our fucking... Yo, the U.S. is fucking cracked. Yo, thank God for Trump, guys, because holy shit, you guys are getting raped by Ukraine.
Yeah, like this.
Holy fuck.
Yeah. Like, this is how much we've sent, and look at what it's gotten us.
Yo, okay, no wonder Trump won. Like, I'm sorry, but that's... Holy shit.
Yeah, 3 years.
That's a stupid amount of money.
3 years. And speaking of those TikTok compilations, I found a compilation yesterday of all these different TikTok clips of the war. Most of it is just like this.
Oh, I never sent you that video, did I? I saw a video of two guys fishing, and there was a drone overhead flying by, and then all of a sudden it got fucking taken out. It exploded, and the noise was crazy. Defend freedom at $183 billion.
From the U.S. alone. Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah, from the U.S. alone.
You guys have been given like $300 billion.
Yeah, and they just
fucking
keep finding it.
Do something. Okay.
There was apparently an accounting error that gave them how much was it? 6.2 billion. So the Pentagon found, yeah, they found an accounting error that provided an extra 6.2 billion in Ukraine, which
Oopsie daisy.
I don't know how you make that much of an accounting error.
So I'm a dollar under on my taxes, and the IRS is fucking coming for my ass. But 6.2 billion just casually shrugged off.
Yeah, and you know, like the further that you look into this issue, like it gets extremely complicated naturally, just because of how many things are involved. But there were like little three bits of info that really stuck out to me in terms of like trying to understand this conflict. So this is a map of all the NATO territories. So everything that's in green, this is when NATO was initially created, and Germany was obviously unified as a result. Once the Berlin Wall came down, and in the yellow, oh wait, sorry, the blue. The blue, these states joined in 1999, and then the purple joined in 2004. So it was just slowly and slowly and slowly getting closer and closer and closer. Finland just joined in 2023, which I believe Finland does share a border with Russia. I could be wrong though. Yeah, so it does. It does share a border with Russia. Yeah, and they're a NATO country. To what extent the NATO armaments are existing in that region, I have no idea.
I don't think the Russians give a shit about Finland.
If you're bordering a NATO country like that, that's on nothing. Like, okay, we can make jokes about the Finnish army and like how small it is compared to Russia, but if you're a NATO country, like who's to say that they can't just harbor like hardcore munitions, rockets, and even nukes in there?
Yeah, but we've been staging everything out of Lebanon. We've been staging everything out of Lebanon.
For the Ukraine war?
Yeah, or not Lebanon. What's the fucking... Is it Lithuania or I think it's Latvia. Sorry.
Potentially, but
We sent apparently Canada had sent troops over there to help train. What was this? Two years ago?
Okay.
Somewhere around there.
Point is that NATO has been slowly encroaching, even though that, like, I mean, I looked into it. So apparently, when NATO was like initially signed, there were a lot of like public statements made that they wouldn't move an inch closer to the east. But there's some debate around this because it's not really officially like in writing anywhere, or like made as like an actual like public declaration. It's just something that was kind of talked about. It was never really official. But even then, like, I don't know, you would assume, or I don't think it's unfair for your enemy to assume that when you say you're not going to step another extra inch to the east, then that's exactly what you mean. And slowly but surely, this has just been encroaching on their territory. So there's that little tidbit of info. Then there's this. This is a leaked phone conversation between then Assistant Secretary of State Victoria Nuland, who was part of the Obama administration, and also the U.S. Ambassador to Ukraine, and they were openly discussing regime change in Ukraine in regards to who they wanted in power, to the point where, like, during the phone call, Victoria Nuland just outright says, "Oh, fuck the EU, fuck what they want. We're gonna make the choice ourselves," which is like wild. This is obviously leaked by Russians, but the whole thing just
Set up a call with him.
like if you just listen to it, they're just openly talking about how they're gonna install certain leaders.
My understanding from that call, but you tell me, was that the big three were going into their own meeting, and that Yats was going to offer in that context a three-way, the 3+1 conversation or 3+2 with you. Is that not how you understood it?
No, I mean, that's what he proposed, but I think just knowing the dynamic that's been with them where Klitschko has been the top dog, he's going to take a while to show up for the meeting they've got. He's probably talking to his guys at this point, so...
Right, so it goes on and on and on. It's a 5-minute phone call. But, like, this is like an actual leak that happened in 2014. So this is, I think, at the height of the Ukraine revolution, where now the CIA has been implicated in installing a puppet in Ukraine that's against Putin, or at least friendly to the West, which is nuts. Like, this is something that's not really, it's not talked about enough, but like that did straight up happen. And like, for fuck's sake, they share the biggest border with Russia. Like that's insane. And there's actual undeniable proof of U.S. involvement in this regime change. Like, it's there. It's been there. This has been on YouTube for like 10+ years.
Yeah.
Yeah, like 10 years ago.
Well, this was the argument that muddied the entire war for me in the first place. Everyone was all of a sudden like, "Oh, Russia is attacking Ukraine." And it's like, okay, but nobody's asked why.
What led to this?
Well, yeah, exactly. What exactly has been going on? What are the conversations been happening? Oh, Ukraine was looking at becoming a NATO country. Well, yeah, I can kind of see why that would irk the Russians just a touch. You know,
especially when they agreed that Ukraine would not become a NATO country all those years ago, and
well, and like you said, especially after Latvia and all those other countries became NATO in, what did you say, 2004?
So
the purple ones?
The purple ones, yeah, they joined in 2004. The latest one was Finland in 2023. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. It's just like, yeah, like I said, it's these three things. Like, forget the forget the fact that this land has been fought over for centuries. Forget like the ethnic strife. Forget the politics between Zelensky. Forget all the money spent. It's just like the fact that NATO's been encroaching, and then you have this phone call, which has been around forever, and then you have this incident where only 40 days after the war started in 2022, as they were in the middle of peace talks in Turkey, I believe it was. Apparently now information has come out that those talks were actually fairly high level, and they were actually going places to the point where like they were writing out concessions for both sides. And then Boris Johnson visited him, only for days later Zelensky to completely, I don't know if he destroyed the peace talks or what, but they dissolved, and I don't think they've been back to the table since then. There's a good breakdown of all of these sources that are linked in this article here if you just click on it. So like this will actually explain the details with all these different news articles and whatnot. So by all means, for anyone listening, you can have a read there. But that's essentially what it looks like. Like obviously we've never had official confirmation. Boris Johnson would never come out on the world stage and say that. But that's essentially what it looks like, because everything was leading to potential peace talks only 40 days after the outset of the war, and then they got, I would assume, essentially Zelensky was told, we have your back. We have your front, not your back. You know, like, no, sorry, I'm retarded. It is the other way. We have your back. You're going to deal with the front. You're the one that's going to be dealing with the casualties, but we'll support you financially and all that. And so, like you said earlier, like just one day, it's like we woke up and everyone was telling us that Ukraine is the good guy and Russia's the bad guy, and we have to fight on the side of justice, and all that is good. But like the people that
save democracy, even though we just installed their leader.
Well, so here's the thing: well, we didn't install Zelensky. I don't know to what extent the CIA or whomever had involvement in that, which I don't think it was zero. But the previous one before him, yeah, they absolutely installed. But here's the thing about like being sold on the narrative. I mean, like the people that were selling on the narrative is like Sean
I'm
Penn
proud
with the
that the
Golden
leadership
Globes
of the Hollywood foreign press
speech.
has seen fit from the otherworldly courage of young Iranians rising up that the freedom to dream is not simply a human luxury, but rather a human need that must be fought and sacrificed for. If the freedom to dream were a spear, I proudly present a human being who tonight represents that spear's most honed tip.
Penn at the Golden Globes.
Ladies and gentlemen, dear participants.
Which, wow, what a voice on that guy. That guy sounds like he smoked 20 packs a day as a kid. But yeah,
he sounds like his grandpappy was a toad.
Well, yeah, well, so you have him getting introduced at the Golden Globes. You had he tried to go for the Oscars. They wouldn't let him. He's made like all these different appearances. All these celebrities have backed him. Let me get a list of celebrities that back the Ukraine war. Billie Eilish, Harry Styles, Imagine Dragons, Rammstein, Mila Kunis and Ashton Kutcher, Sean Penn, Angelina Jolie, Ben Stiller, Jessica. Anyways, the list goes on and on and on, right? And the point is, it's like, are we supposed to take lessons on morality and what is good and bad, or understand that these people know anything about the war when these are the same people that are on the Epstein list or the Diddy Party list, or like associated with Nickelodeon, which has had their own scandals to deal with? Point is, like these people that are in these positions of celebrity, they're not like just full of moral virtue and infallible. Like to get to that level of fame and to stay in the pocket of it and to be successful in it takes a little bit of like, not psychopathy, but you certainly don't do that as a normal person.
You're not a mentally healthy individual, no matter what you had to do to get to that point. I mean, look at what Shia LaBeouf went through. Like He was not a healthy individual, and he's a household name. Like,
yeah. Or even there's an older one with I think it was Martin Lawrence, where he had like a freak out. He had like a famous episode where he was like in his underwear.
Yeah, but ain't nobody know who Martin Lawrence is.
He's the guy from Bad Boys. What do you mean? Martin Lawrence was like a household name only like a decade ago, not even. He's like a famous comedian. What are you talking about?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, you've never seen Bad Boys, okay. But yeah, so like these people are not, they're not paragons of moral virtue, and they're the ones that are helping sell this.
And that's exactly the conversation that's happening right now with the election, is that the celebrity endorsement is dead. Because it clearly hasn't been leaning towards society's best interests. I mean, look at all these celebrity endorsements towards Ukraine. $183 billion fucking dollars? You're out of your fucking gourd. And then all the celebrity endorsements for Kamala, which the public clearly didn't give a flying fuck. Like, I remember hearing those stories early about how Taylor Swift's endorsement for Kamala could sway the election. And a part of me believed it. Because Taylor Swift has a plethora of fans across the United States. And now all of a sudden you have these young voters. I mean, I could understand how those numbers could begin to sway the vote. But clearly nobody gave a flying shit.
Yeah, that's what it looks like, anyways. That even though they are in the celebrity class, that no one's really like taking their opinions seriously. You know?
Yeah. It's because you're not important. I don't know, it was the same thing when we had the whole climate change snafu. You would see, was it Matthew McConaughey? And I think, not Tim Allen. Who's the guy from Castaway? Tom
Hanks.
Tom Hanks. I think they both had videos of them both going on little spiels about the environment. Here, there, somewhere else, whether it was, I think Matthew McConaughey was at he was giving a speech or something. I don't remember. And they both went on these fucking tirades about global warming. And look what came of that. Fuck all. Nothing happened. It wasn't a big enough issue for people to care. Yeah, and then they found that with the election. And they found that with what were we just talking about there? What else were they endorsing? Ukraine, sorry, yeah. And nobody gives a shit. Because at the end of the day, my food is too fucking expensive. And that's what I care about. That's the immediate roadblock in my life.
Yeah, no, that absolutely. That's exactly why this stuff it falls on the face of itself. I mean, I don't know, like what do any of these people in this room here know about war, know about the conflict, know about losing, any of that kind of stuff? I have a hard time picturing that any of these people actually have an idea what that's like. And I'm not like saying that I do, but I'm also not the one going up on the world stage supporting this kind of messaging, and they are.
Yeah, we're not the ones going up there pretending we know.
Yeah.
We don't know. That's why initially, right out of the gate, I told you earlier. You hear the story about Russia.
I'm also not the one going up.
War on Ukraine, and my immediate thought was, okay. And what's Russia's side of the story? Because I have questions. Because I know I don't know shit, but I know that it takes two to tango.
Well, it would be good to know. It would be good to know, and not just like from what we've been told. Because at least Russia's, well, one of the arguments that Russia has used, or at least Putin has used, is this like whole denazification thing. And while it is true that Ukraine genuinely does have like a Nazi problem, it's I don't know. I think it's certainly a stretch to say that their entire country is like governed by that, or that like Nazis are going to invade Russia anytime soon. But this was something that happened early on. Throughout the conflict.
We probably don't want to be rubbing shoulders with organized far-right militant groups that have, that are very open about it. I mean, you could go right now and view on YouTube their videos of their trainings, the very forward symbolism. They're not hiding this stuff.
Canadian diplomats and soldiers in Ukraine took an unusual meeting in June of 2018, one that's now coming to light. It was a meeting with one of the paramilitary units raised to fight off the Russian invasion of Ukraine's eastern provinces. One problem, that unit, the Azov Battalion, has been linked to neo-Nazism, and the Canadian military knew.
Велику, могутню і соборну. Слава нації!
They are Nazis.
Ottawa
What do you mean?
Citizen report says Canadian forces in Ukraine produced a briefing in 2017 saying members of the Azov Battalion identified themselves as Nazis. But the June 2018 meeting happened anyway, with a Canadian forces colonel and diplomatic staff attending. The battalion published pictures on social media saying Canadian representatives expressed their hopes for, quote, further fruitful cooperation. In a statement, the Department of National Defense says they are strongly opposed to the glorification of Nazism and all forms of racism, racial discrimination, xenophobia, intolerance, and extremism, adding, our official position remains that we are not, nor will we be providing support to Azov and affiliated entities. Brad Galloway with the Center for Hate, Bias, and Extremism.
Yeah, this goes on and on and on.
But why me with the... We're so fucking stupid.
I don't know. I genuinely don't know. And this was in 2018, right? He said 2018. So this was 4 years before the war started.
Yeah.
Right? This is 4 years before the war started. And also in that news release, they did say that they were aware that they are Nazis because, like the guy said, they don't hide from it. They don't necessarily shy away from it. You can just find these photos. Like, they literally have the SS style. Like, I don't understand. So... Right, so that's just going back to what we were saying earlier with the messaging. Like, on Putin's part, yeah, like you could easily use this as proof and say, well, yeah, look, they actually have Nazis, and Nazis wanted all Russians to die. So this is not a difficult calculation to make here. And the fact that it went so far with the Nazi stuff in the war is insane, because we are part of the money that we are supplying here in Canada and abroad to Ukraine is going to these battalions. So we are in effect funding Nazis simply because they are among our allies right now, which is an insane thing to think about. I mean, this got to the point where there's a famous incident in Parliament only not even a year ago, where a Nazi was invited
выглядит
to
то,
the Canadian
что
Parliament,
все аплодировали этому нацисту. И особенно президент Украины, в жилах которых...
So this gentleman right here, he fought with the Nazi battalion in Ukraine, and he was invited to all of Parliament,
еврей по
given a standing
национальности,
ovation,
стоит и аплодирует нацисту.
and everyone is... I mean, we were all shocked by it when it came out, but this is incredible.
Говорит о том, что во время Второй мировой войны этот канадско-украинский или украино-канадский нацист сражался против русских во время Второй мировой войны.
Okay. Anyways, it goes on, but yeah, this is an actual thing that happened, and then immediately after that, the Speaker of the House was asked to step down because apparently it was his fault that all of this happened, which okay, sure, you can blame him, but like, you want to tell me the prime minister doesn't have people for this? Like, he doesn't have assistants that are researching this all the time and that are looking into these people that they meet? Like, shouldn't they be? Shouldn't they have someone for that? I feel like they should have someone for that.
You'd think so, eh?
And it says here, reports suggest that as many as 2,000 Ukrainian members of Adolf Hitler Waffen SS were admitted to Canada after the war. So there's just like a couple thousand ex-Nazis living in Canada.
Very cool.
It's very strange. It's very strange. Like, they're so fanatical about the war that they wouldn't even look into something as basic as this. So, like, once again, this is all to say, like, this story that we've been told, right, for the last 1,000 days, it doesn't seem to be lining up with the truth. It doesn't seem to be lining up with what's actually going on, because like, it's like we're obviously just being lied to. Just flat on the face of it, that Ukraine is all good, Putin is all evil, and that's it. That end of story. It's like, hello, like, what the did nobody take like 20th century history? Like, do we not remember how this good guy bad guy shit flipped like 5 separate times? At one point, the Soviets were, friends with the Nazis, and then until they weren't. And then Hitler was friendly with the U.S. until he wasn't.
You remember basic history? See, and this is why this portion of history is important. And we had that discussion, I think, last time, where it's like, what's really important in school? Okay, well, we really need to know all this history stuff, and it's like, well, yes, yeah, World War II is a little important, like, good to know what happened and what became of those people, to remind us not to do that stupid shit anymore, because we forget. And for whatever reason glorify it, and people think it's great, and then we have fucking communists and fascists rolling around thinking they're the hottest thing since sliced fucking bread. Communists walking around saying, "Oh well, it's never been done right. Fuck off."
Well, even this little example, this phone call here, right? Like, this little phone call right here. It's perfectly indicative of, like, just this forgotten history. Like, I don't remember a single time when someone's been covering the news on the war, and they've mentioned, oh, hey, by the way, remember that time that the U.S. involved itself in the switching of government powers for all of Ukraine in 2014 that directly led to the current conflict that we're in now? They wouldn't. They obviously wouldn't. They would never say that on live TV. That would absolutely fucking bankrupt them. Because for once they'd actually be telling the truth. But even this little history, like, you don't even have to go that far back, like World War II and all that. Even this just like indicates, like, hey, maybe there's actually something going on here that is not entirely the truth. I mean, look, it's gone to the point where I caught this video. This is a mess hall. Look at the age of some of those men. Bro, you got soldiers with bald spots.
Gone gray.
Look at him.
You're not a soldier, bro. Damn.
Yeah, dude, they've been conscripting their elderly. Like, we're destroying an entire generation of people for what? Like, all these men. For what?
Yeah, for what is the question, So what is it? At the end of the day, if Ukraine turned around and said, hey, look, Putin, I'm sorry, we're not going to fuck with NATO no more, Russia, go home? I mean, obviously not now, not anymore, because it's a little too late.
I mean, if you're talking about conflict resolution, ideally, like, I think what it looks like now is that Russia is going to keep its land gains, maybe give something back, but Ukraine would have to give something substantial back. Like, they would start with the fact that, yeah, like you said, no more ambitions towards NATO. scale back of their army, just anything like that, and they essentially become a buffer zone between Russia and Europe, which they have been for quite a while, as well as Poland. Poland's in NATO, though. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Like that's the other problem. Like we talked before, how in terms of like this war ending, it seems like everyone is just like they just keep pushing the goalposts, and they're like, all right, well now it's until we win. It's like, well, what do you mean until we win? Like here's Biden. This is only a couple days ago. I believe this is a G20 about Ukrainian sovereignty.
Have to work to end the conflicts and crises that are eroding progress and food security around the world. Ukraine. The United States strongly supports Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity. Everyone around this table, in my view, should as well. And by the way, Russia's brutal invasion of Ukraine led to the highest record food prices in all of history. In Gaza, as I've said before, Israel has the right to defend itself after the worst massacre of Jews since the Holocaust. But how it defends itself, even as Hamas cruelty hides among civilians, matters a great deal. The United States has led the world in humanitarian aid to Gaza.
Anyways, the important part was that he said that Ukraine has full sovereignty and it has a right to defend itself and all that. It's like, okay, but why are we escalating?
So let's talk about Israel for a second.
Yeah, he's just
because that was the big issue with Israel's retaliation. It's like,
Yeah,
is Israel not a sovereign nation that has a right to defend itself?
I think that's what he was getting into before I cut it off.
Yeah.
Like that's essentially it. But yeah, here's some more footage. This is also, I think, within the last 2 weeks or so that Trudeau has stated this.
Evan Dyer, CBC News. Prime Minister, you just talked about the goal in Ukraine being a ceasefire. In the past, you've talked about...
not a ceasefire, an end to the conflict and a peace.
Okay. In the past, you've used the word victory. And I just want to ask you if, under the new circumstances, if the goal is still victory at all costs over Russia and Ukraine, or if it has moved a bit.
The fundamental challenge we face is that Russia violated some pretty basic principles of the international rules-based order. They violated the UN Charter. They are trying to demonstrate that if you have a big enough army, you can redraw lines.
They invaded Ukraine, so technically,
yeah. Listen to what Trudeau just said. He literally just said, if I have a big enough army, I can change the rules. The answer to that you have just proven by doing nothing and allowing Russia to run amok is yes. Because it's the truth. Russia is a superpower of the world. They have more nukes than I think the rest of the NATO countries combined.
They do. That's true. They have like 5.7.
The biggest landmass. Like, what do you want? Russia can do whatever the fuck it wants because nobody has a bigger stick.
Yeah. No, and that's we can say that obviously, but as a world leader, he has to keep up appearances and, like you said, the rules-based national order. And it's like you said, it's like, well, the only rule is if I have a bigger gun, then if I get it, I'm more likely to get away with the thing. Doesn't mean that people are going to let me off scot-free or that there won't be repercussions to what I do, but that realistically no one's going to invade me. You know, they didn't exactly. The Middle East hasn't exactly gone over in fucking boats and sailed over to the east coast of the states and started bombing them from over there. They have different tactics in that war, but yeah, it's just to keep up appearances. But yeah, no, it's like you said, it's absolutely right. It's like, well, in the real world, it's like if you have a bigger gun, then you get to have the privileges of keeping this free. Like that's also the issue with the shipping routes that with all the Houthis that have been attacking it recently. That's because America patrols the seas. I didn't know this up until a couple of years ago, but America literally helps keep peace amongst shipping routes because they set up their boats in very strategic areas to make sure that all these shipping vessels that have millions and millions of dollars worth of cargo, that they're not stolen, right? And the moment that ever gets disturbed, well, you know, you get all that footage in the last couple of months of the Houthis attacking the stuff. But let's let this play out.
On the map that have been established for 70 plus years since the UN came into being. Any victory on that issue by Russia, any demonstration that if you have a bigger army, you get to redraw lines on a map, would have devastating consequences, not just for Ukraine, but obviously for Ukraine and Ukrainians, but for the entire world. How many countries have a neighbor that has a historical claim over this corner across the river where their citizens used to live?
Says the guy who's giving land
100 years ago.
Fucking dick.
Says the guy that what, sorry?
This is the guy who puts a fucking land acknowledgement in front of everything and renames all that. You motherfucker.
How many conflicts have been averted because the world has agreed that you may not like the borders where they are, but they are where they are, and they hold. And the world is willing to enforce those lines on a map. The fact that Russia has chosen to redraw those lines on the map is the thing that worries people the most around the world. And that's why it is so important that Ukraine wins this conflict, that Russia loses this conflict, that no one will look at Putin and said, well, it was a hassle, but he did get those territories that proved that might can sometimes make right. This is the stability of the global economy. It's the well-being of billions of people at play, and that's the principle for which we are collectively standing up when we are unequivocal that we will be with Ukraine with whatever it takes until they win.
Jesus Christ, what a shit answer to that question. I can't believe he stood in front of a camera and said, you may not like it, but these are the lines now. And it's like, so you can't do that within a society? Isn't that the whole joke of, like, the indigenous people losing home field advantage? Is that not the joke he just made?
I'm not sure what you mean.
I'm seeing this in direct comparison to the Aboriginal issue here in Canada. And the common joke of being like, you lost on home soil.
Yeah.
And he basically looked in a camera right there and he goes, there's a whole plethora of countries who have a neighbor who once owned land from them, and it's like, well, you may not like it, but these are the lines now. And it's like, motherfucker, what? Yeah, we're making all this noise about the Aborigines when there's literally a meme about losing on home field advantage. That's fucking wild. I don't know, made me laugh.
Yeah, well, I mean, the actual, like, the strange thing that I don't know, it just seems weird to me is that, like, when in 2014 when Russia invaded Ukraine and they took Crimea, like, they held that territory for 10 years. And I mean, sure, like, people were affected, there was still a lot of fighting going on, okay, but I don't know, it didn't seem to bother the rest of the world all that much. Didn't really seem as catastrophic as as it was made out to be. I don't know, like, it didn't change my life in any way. Didn't really change any lives of the people that I knew. So I'm not sure. Not sure why, like, he feels comfortable making the statement that, oh, like, these lines can't be redrawn and all that. But it's like, well, yeah, but that's the history of the world. Like, you want to tell me that he's a tyrant and that it's not right, that we shouldn't abide by that? Sure, but this is gonna happen forever. Like, forever. I mean, not even digging too deep into Israel and Palestine, but over the years, if you look at a map of Palestine, the territory keeps shrinking.
I mean, but then look at something like Taiwan.
Yeah, there's that, but then there's also, like, the border between India and China that has been hotly contested over for years. I mean, it's just it's weird. He's going to this, like, rejection of what human history has always been and always will be until the end of time. To make the argument that Putin isn't allowed to do that. And it's like, okay, well, I'm not sure how that works if he's already done it in 2014. He's already done it. He's gotten away with it. Like it's just this narrative that he's trying to support. It falls apart like under just the most basic of scrutiny. It's like, well, what are you talking about? Redrawing lines on a map. You already did that. We've been doing that. The Soviet Union was that. Like, this is only a generation ago that this happened. Like I really don't understand the argument that he's making here.
I don't know. Sounds like a hypocrite and a jackass.
I mean, he always does, but yeah. The other part that I found like kind of disturbing in that speech is that he said that Russia must lose and that Ukraine must win. It's like, okay, well, but what is a winning condition?
Well,
What does that
he outlined what he meant by that in that speech. So basically, what he's saying is that Russia has violated the blessed fundamentals of what is border security, and the basic structure of the global map. And now they're not allowed to claim Ukraine as their territory because then they can say that they win. Like that was his whole spiel about somebody saying later on, like, looking back at Putin, oh, even though it was a lot of trouble, he still made it happen. That's a win for Russia. And he's not wrong in that. He's not. Russia walked out and, like you agreed with, they violated notions of the UN and said, no, I have a bigger military. I'm going to do what I want. I don't like what's happening. Fuck all you guys. What you going to do about it? And now if he manages to keep those territories, now that's a justification of his actions. He's basically twisting this into an argument of the ends justified the means. And if the ends justify the means, Russia wins. That's what he's saying. So Ukraine wins if in some fucking way in hell they manage to retain their original landmass and their sovereignty from Russia at the end of all this.
That's a hell of a win condition.
It's yeah. To say the least.
Like that, if that is essentially what he's outlining, that they get all their territory back under no uncertain terms, and they haven't been able to thus far, and they've lost 25% of their population to either death or people that have straight up just left the country. Like we were talking earlier, like what happens? So what happens when they run out of men? What happens when they run out of Ukrainian soldiers? What happens if they're not able to get private military contractors?
Private military contractors paid by us?
Well, but even then, that's like there's at least a 2-step or 3 steps of obscurity between us and them, right? Like it's like us sending weapons. So like I totally get the point you're making. Like
yes. No, I'm yeah. No,
we're still technically fighting the war. It's just on a different behalf. So like that's okay. But then how long can we do that for? Like it's been 3 years, and I mean let's take a look at the Ukraine war map.
I think we do it until all the volunteers are gone. I don't know.
Like this is what it looks like right now. I think Ukraine goes up to, it goes up to here. So all of this part has essentially been taken over by Russia.
Damn, Ukraine's looking mighty small.
Yeah, they're looking mighty small. So how are you, like, so what's your
yeah, good luck.
plan? I don't, you want to take all this land back? All of it?
From Russia?
And we're headed into winter right now.
Yeah, go fight Russia in winter. That's the smart move.
Like the ground is going to freeze over, and it's just going to be awful. And not to mention that North Korea has also, it's looking like they're pledging upwards of 100,000 troops. So far they've sent around 10,000. They want to 10x that.
North Korea is supplying troops to Russia?
They have been since the beginning of the war, but now it's escalating. In the
Mm.
last couple of weeks, they've announced that they want to send 100,000 troops. And okay, fine. Let's even set all that aside. All right, even with all the history and the emotional, arguments for all this good versus bad. Zelensky has not held an election since the beginning of the war. Right? They right now they're in the middle of deciding whether one needs to be conducted, but I'm not sure that they can, because like realistically, like I'm not even fully chiding them on this one, because like holding an election during wartime would be so difficult. And then also, how do you make sure that everything is free and fair? Like, how do you remove foreign interference? Because like, Jesus Christ, they can just, who's to say they can't target voting centers for bombing? Who's to say they can't target any of the infrastructure that's set up to even support an election?
Well, looking at the map that we just saw of what's left of Ukraine, I don't know if an election's worth it.
That's what I mean. And then like all those citizens,
you don't have a nation anymore.
Yeah, so there's that. And then in addition to that, they've restricted freedoms of the press. I think several news stations have been shut down unilaterally, and journalists, at least according to this article, they would go in to like an armed conflict zone, and then on their way out, or just like as they're transitioning like out of it, the soldiers and people pass by them. They're like, oh, "What the fuck? You guys aren't supposed to be here," and they're getting a little like more and more restricted in terms of the media access to the front line. So there's that. And then not to mention all the shady investments and programs that are happening. Like, for example, Ukraine is the global leader in the digital ID program. They're the global leader. And it makes sense when you think about their predicament, because, okay, so you have all these government services, all these funds that have to go out to the people to help them during wartime. How do you do that when a lot of your infrastructure is getting bombed? Well, going digital is a solution, sure, but they're pushing it hard. Like, it allows you to access this app, 9 digital documents in total. It could be used anywhere in the country. They're all legal and have the same legal force as the plastic or paper counterparts. And they can share digital copies of the documents and pay debts or fines. So, like, your whole government life passport, your driver's license, everything on the phone, digital. And sure, okay, fine, this is the future, this is where we're moving, but I don't feel necessarily comfortable with a nation having that much power, because if I have a paper passport, nobody can just, like, as long as I have it in my possession, nobody could just delete it or fuck with it or restrict my access. Like, that's more of a manual approach. Like, there's something that has to happen. But if it's digital, like, okay, where are these servers located? Like, how liable are they to be attacked or fucked with, or any number of issues, right? And then what happens when you switch entirely to digital and you don't have a paper system anymore, because the paper system is ineffective and it can't compete with a digital system? It's like cashless businesses. It's like, okay, so what? So if I don't have any cash, like that's it, and I don't have my card with me, like, or sorry, if I don't have a card, you're not going to accept my cash. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
It's just very odd, and then yet another layer of government surveillance. So they're the leading ones, and it's like no surprise, they're getting all this investment from all the World Bank and all these different countries, and then not to mention the amount of profits that are being gained by the military-industrial complex or the reconstruction. Like BlackRock and JP Morgan are helping them set up a reconstruction bank, which is, it says here, the World Bank estimated they would need $411 billion to rebuild the nation after the war. And that's like as of right now. That figure could be much higher. This article was written when? In 2023. Dude, it's been like it's been a year. It's been a year and a half since then. So that figure is definitely bigger.
That's okay. That bill's on Russian now because it's Russian territory, right?
I guess, but like, so what? Like, that's, I don't know. I don't feel comfortable knowing that BlackRock and JP Morgan are the ones setting this up. Like these aren't people that have the best interests of the Ukrainian people in their mind, especially if they're profiting this much from the contracts. Also, not to mention that a lot of the money that's actually going to Ukraine is going back to the US because it's all the companies that make the bullets and the munitions and everything are located within the US. You have Lockheed Martin. Who else? Oh my God. Who else? Who else comes to mind besides Lockheed Martin? Yeah, defense contractors. Lockheed Martin, RTX, Northrop Grumman, Boeing, General Dynamics. They're the ones that are getting a lot of this money. And then, right, if we're going even deeper into the rabbit hole, there's like billions, or not billions, but there's a ton of these stories where a lot of these funds are being like misused, straight up stolen from like the humanitarian fund. Apparently, it says here about 4.4 million has been misspent. Here's another story.
Misspent.
Yeah, here's another story of this guy apparently using it on fucking hookers. Oh, sorry, that's his
Sick.
wife. My mistake. That's his wife. Sorry. that's just his wife.
Whoops.
She just looks hot enough to be a hooker. But yeah, here it is. Offered a bribe amounting to 500,000 to one of the bureau's main.
He bribed his wife? What the fuck?
No, he bribed someone else. No, he didn't bribe his wife. He bribed some government officials. 500,000 here. Here's another story. 40 million in defense embezzlement, which they found out, and who's to say what they haven't found? Right, and this is almost a year ago.
How come they can never misplace money and I happen to find like, 50 grand in my account one day? That would be nice.
That's because you're not Ukrainian, so.
God damn it.
And then here's another story regarding the reconstruction. So we're sending hundreds of billions. We're sending hundreds of billions to this country that is essentially a black hole equivalent of accounting errors. And now it's getting to the point where they're putting old men on the front lines. I even saw that they're putting mentally retarded people on the front lines.
Sick, dude.
I swear to God.
Yo, when vegetables fight back.
Ukraine mentally retarded. No, where is it? What's the condition? I forget.
Autism? Downs?
Yeah, no, Down syndrome. There's a Down syndrome soldier.
Imagine being proud to be the first Down syndrome soldier in a time of war like this.
Let me see if I can find it, because I did see. Yeah, here it is.
That'd be like the first transgender Ukrainian soldier. Yeah, but you're gonna be fucking murdered.
Воха, буду з міномета бачити.
А росте?
Додамо. Давай, ходім туди. Ходім. Давай. Швидше, блядь. Інвалід юбаний, сука. Що, все? Все вже. Ага. Дай малому шмальнуть разок. Да.
Йо, бачу.
Нормально, дай разочок.
А ми закінчили вже.
Та одну міну, хай пульне. Питав, блядь. Давай.
Борежно, блядь. Блядь, ти що?
Ёбаный в рот, Воха!
Отсюда, блядь.
Ебать, иди нахуй вентиля, долбоёб! Казал мне, блядь! Пидорюга, иди нахуй, блядь! Ой, сука, обещалась хуйня, ёбана снова!
Yeah, like that's how they're treating their fucking Down syndrome soldiers. Alright, assuming this isn't Russian misinformation. And they're just making fun of him in the clip.
Still, the fact that he's even out there is like, what are we doing?
Yeah. So all of that, right? On top of the fact that, like I mentioned earlier, that North Korea is reportedly going to send upwards of 100,000 troops, and that yesterday they fired the first longer range missiles into Russia, which cannot be done without the assistance of American personnel or NATO personnel, which means that we now have soldiers, special operators, what have you, some kind of tactical unit within Ukraine's borders that are representatives of the American army or a section of it, because they have to help them operate these things. Which means that we have troops on the ground, confirmation in Ukraine, which we haven't had before, to my knowledge. And then in response to this attack that happened just yesterday, speaking of which, with the attack, I think they only shot 6 of these. 5 were shot down by anti-air defenses. 1 made it to a weapons depot but crashed outside of it, and there wasn't any casualties or anything like that.
Sick, yo, that money's so worth it.
Well, so check this, right? So this is the max range. Like, this is the current Russian military control area that we saw earlier.
Mm.
And this is their max range. You're reaching well into Russia. Like, well into Russia. And this is like their...
Those airports?
Yeah, these are all no, Russian military bases.
Oh, okay.
So like what's the point of this? What's the end game? What the fuck are we doing? Biden has fucking 10 or 20 days before he leaves office. And yesterday they decided to launch this shit. Like, what the fuck is going on? And Canada is standing behind them. Justin Trudeau tweeted that he's in support of this. Like, what the fuck are we doing? I was like, what the fuck are we doing? Putin literally said, I'm gonna, like, okay, like, the next time that a strike like this happens,
I'm gonna nuke you, you fucks.
Yeah, I have authorization to use a nuke. And, like, it doesn't even have to be, like, Putin could actually potentially, like, get away with this because, okay, let's say he does, right? Let's say he doesn't, like, drop off one of their Tsar bombs. Let's say it's a tactical nuke that's used to wipe a city. It's like, okay, what then? So are the rockets going to start like flying on our ends because we've been puffing our chest this whole time, saying that we will? What happens then? We're on the fucking precipice of losing all of human civilization, of losing everything that we have worked for, our ancestors have worked for, and every single other person that has ever died has worked for. All of it gone. For what?
Yeah, I don't know.
For what? Can anyone tell me why we're doing this? Some misplaced sense of justice and goodness? What the fuck are we talking about here?
I don't know. But why even do something like that? Like, at this point, it seems like you're poking the bear with a toothpick in the hopes it'll get annoyed and leave.
Yeah, except if the bear swipes at you, you die instantly, and everyone.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's still a fucking bear. Like,
I don't know. I don't understand it. I genuinely don't understand it, and I don't know how this is not a bigger story and not just receiving wall-to-wall coverage. If we are to take him at his word, Putin is saying that the next time a rocket like this is struck into Russian territory or any occupied Russian land, then that's it. He has authorization to launch a nuke. Like, are we really going to test him?
he's fucking crazy.
I'm not even trying to defend Putin or anything. Like, the guy's a fucking authoritarian leader, squashes rights in Russia, and has plenty wrong with him that we could go into for forever. But we're talking about nuclear war, man. And the last time that we did this, okay, the last time that we had a crisis like this, we were fortunate enough to have men and women in positions of power that were able to make the right decision. I don't know if we have those same people anymore. I don't know if we have the same strength of character anymore. I don't know. Like, there's no way of knowing if those same people will act the same way. We got lucky last time. We got lucky.
It's very true.
We got extremely lucky because the right amount of like the circumstances and the series of events that happened did so in a way where people made the right choices, and it doesn't look like we're making the right choices. It looks like there's a ton of shadow money being spent on Ukraine. We don't know where it's going or what's happening with it. Everyone in the media circus is playing up Zelensky and that we have to defend this. I mean, this isn't even like a political issue because the people in the Republican Party in the US are like, a lot of them are supporting Ukraine. So this isn't even like a left or right issue. Nor should it be. This concerns each and every single one of us. We're talking about, like I said, wiping everything. Gone.
Yeah.
Because of what? Like, because the US wanted to play a game of regime change in the 21st century? Like, it didn't get its fill in the 20th? For fucking what?
I don't know. And that's the most confusing part about it, right? That's the part where it's like you can't immediately look to something and go, "Oh no, this makes sense," or "This was unacceptable. Of course, the retaliation's justified." It's like it's that lack of substance. There's nothing there. It doesn't make any sense. We shouldn't be involved. Why is the U.S. so fucking invested?
I don't know. I genuinely don't know. I mean, I've heard some people say that it's because they know that that Putin is having troubles with leadership within Russia. The way that Russian politics is swaying, he does not have infinite time, right? That it's getting closer and closer with each passing year towards the end of his tenure. And in terms of seizing power, depending on how the war might go, they're like, you can make the argument that they might have enough people to back a move against Putin, but like, that's a hell of a fucking move because apparently during COVID, he really isolated himself, like, extensively, more so than he was before. And apparently, like, even during like the Cuban Missile Crisis, like, all these dignitaries between the nations still had contact. Russia hasn't spoken to America for years now, even before the war. People are pulling out. Both Russia and America have pulled out of like all these nuclear agreements, and it's just like, I'm genuinely confused as to why there is a single argument for this war that is worth risking nuclear fallout for.
Exactly.
It's very confusing.
No, I'm right there with you. Doesn't seem worth the risk, John.
Well, like, not even to mention like all these billions being spent, and like, we have plenty of our own issues at home to deal with.
Yeah, no shit.
Like, there's like, if you want to talk about curbing the sphere of influence that Russia has within like Ukraine and all those regions and all that, it's like, okay, sure, you can make the argument. But at the end of the day, like, if a nation decides to ally itself with Putin or have a referendum or whatever the hell, it's like, well, that's their, is that not their democratic right? Like, that's who they want to be a part of. Like, I don't understand what role we have to play in terms of being the caretaker for that entire region.
It's only democratic if it's capitalist.
Well, it's only democratic if they vote right, if they vote the right way.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just it's very confusing to me. And the escalation just keeps going on and on and on. Trudeau and Biden coming out saying they were gonna defend them until they win. Like, I I don't want to be a doomer about this, but like it's like every passing day, it's not looking good. Look, my hope is that Trump comes into office, immediately starts de-escalating and icing any talks about escalating, and just moving in the direction that Russia can get what it wants, Ukraine can get what it wants, and everyone can just chill the fuck out. Because the alternative is more of this, and like this does not end well. Like the amount of times that we've had like nuclear close calls, that one, like there was an incident with like the nuclear sub where the commander at the last second decided not to fire the Russian commander. That famous case. There was that other one where I think these people were like in a NORAD base in Alaska, and they interpreted signals of nukes flying at them until they didn't realize the fact that the moon had come through the clouds and was reflecting all these photons and beams of light from the sun, which caused all the signal interference. And then there was that one time that somebody literally just left a VHS training tape that was specifically made to look like a hyper-realistic nuclear war scenario, and they were just about to get the president in the air within like not even 10 minutes until whomever was in command or just, there for that, that accident, was able to realize that, like, hey, this looks like training footage. And those are the incidents that we know of. Like, let's be real. I guarantee there's a number of them that we straight up don't know of because of how close we came. So yeah, I'm not on either side. I don't want there to be a war like this. Like this, thousands of men dying for what? Like, don't they deserve to live full lives? All these people we're just sending against Russia, or even like the Russian men, like what do they deserve it for?
Yeah.
Just because they happen to live where they live?
Yeah, almost 500,000 of them.
Yeah, the closer you look, the less sense it makes on the face of it, or at least with what they're trying to sell us on. There's this one video that's actually quite good. It explains the conflict in a very short and succinct way. The full video is available on the newsletter there. It's about like an hour or so, hour and a half long. But there's a clip that's been circulating around TikTok and Twitter.
This is not an attack by Putin on Ukraine in the way that we are told every day. This started in 1990, February 9th, 1990. James Baker III, our Secretary of State, said to Mikhail Gorbachev, NATO will not move 1 inch eastward if you agree to German unification, basically ending World War II. And Gorbachev said, that's very important. Yes, NATO doesn't move, and we agreed to German unification. The U.S. then cheated on this, already starting in 1994, when Clinton signed off on basically a plan to expand NATO all the way to Ukraine. This is when the so-called neocons took power, and Clinton was the first agent of this. And the expansion of NATO started in 1999 with Poland, Hungary, and Czech Republic. At that point, Russia didn't much care. There was no border other than with the Königsberg, but other than that, there was no direct threat. Then the U.S. led the bombing of Serbia in 1999. That was bad, by the way, because that was a use of NATO to bomb a European capital, Belgrade, 78 straight days to break the country apart. The Russians didn't like that very much. But Putin became president, they swallowed it, they complained, but Even Putin started out pro-European, pro-American, actually asked maybe we should join NATO when there was still the idea of some kind of mutually respectful relationship. Then 9/11 came, then came Afghanistan, and the Russians said, yeah, we'll support you, we understand, to root out terror. But then came two other decisive actions. In 2002, the United States unilaterally walked out of the Anti-Ballistic Missile Treaty. This was probably the most decisive event, never discussed in this context. But what it did was trigger the U.S. putting in missile systems in Eastern Europe that Russia views as a dire, direct threat. In 2004-05, we engaged in a soft regime change operation in Ukraine. But in 2009, Yanukovych won the election and he became president in 2010 on the basis of neutrality for Ukraine. That calmed things down because the U.S. was pushing NATO, but the people of Ukraine on the opinion polls didn't even want to be in NATO. They knew that the country is divided between ethnic Ukrainian, ethnic Russian. What do we want with this? We want to stay away from your problems. So in February 22nd, 2014, the United States participated actively in the overthrow of Yanukovych. A typical U.S. regime change operation, have no doubt about it. And the Russians did us a favor. They intercepted a really ugly call between Victoria Nuland, my colleague at Columbia University now, between her and the U.S. ambassador to Ukraine, Jeffrey Piat, who's a senior State Department official till today. And they talked about regime change. They said, who's going to be the next government? All of this is to say, the U.S. then said, okay, now NATO's really going to enlarge. And Putin kept saying, stop. You promised no NATO enlargement. It's been, by the way, I forgot to mention, in 2004, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Bulgaria, Romania, Slovakia, Slovenia, 7 more countries in the not 1 inch eastward. And then, okay, it's a long story, but the U.S. kept rejecting the basic idea, don't expand NATO to Russia's border in a context where we're putting in goddamn missile systems. After breaking a treaty, 2019, we walked out of the Intermediate Nuclear Force Treaty. On December 15, 2021, Putin put on the table a draft Russia-U.S. security agreement. You can find it online. The basis of it is no NATO enlargement. I called the White House that next week after that, begging them, take the negotiations. Putin's offered something, avoid this war. Oh, Jeff, there's not going to be a war. Announce that NATO's not going to enlarge. Oh, don't worry, NATO's not going to enlarge. I said, oh, you're going to have a war over something that's not going to happen? Why don't you announce it? And he said, no, our policy is an open door. This is Jake Sullivan. Our policy is an open door policy. Open door for NATO enlargement. That is under the category of bullshit, by the way. You don't have your right to put your military bases anywhere you want and expect peace in this world. They turned down the negotiations. Then the special military operation started, and 5 days later, Zelensky says, okay, neutrality. And then the United States and Britain said, no way. You guys fight on. We got your back. We don't have your front. You're all going to die. But we got your back as we kept pushing them into the front lines. That's 600,000 deaths now of Ukrainians since Boris Johnson flew to Kyiv to tell them to be brave.
So that's Professor Jeffrey Sachs, who used to work in the UN. So the man's not entirely stupid when it comes to this. Now, In regards to the fact checking, by all means, all these claims you can research for yourself, but that is essentially like all that we've been talking about now. And I, like you've seen me, I've been clicking on sources. If we're to believe the BBC at their word or any of these other places that I posted, like this seems to be the set of facts that's lining up. And here in the West, we're not really all that looking too good. Like just because we don't have direct military involvement with all this, it means that we're kind of like we're scot-free for some reason. We're blameless in this. I don't understand. Like the biggest thing that he said is like you don't just get to put your military installations inside of neighboring countries and allow the country that you're against to just be cool with it. It's like a fucking Russia started sending nukes to Mexico or even Cuba, like they did. Like you don't just get to do that without any consequences. You there? Hello, James? We have some technical difficulties. Oh, all right. In any case, if anyone's interested, they can go check this out for themselves. It's a pretty long Q&A. I think it actually goes, yeah, for about an hour and a half or so. Definitely worth a watch. But yeah, Ukraine war. It's going to a really weird place. I just hope that by the time Trump comes into office, that we haven't already made the fatal mistake, that things are going to draw down, that that we can de-escalate, move away from this conflict, and start focusing on other things, because we have plenty of our own problems here at home that we've been neglecting for far too long. And it's very strange to hear the justifications of spending billions on this issue and little is to be done about the things that are actually affecting the citizenry that are paying for this war. Because we're paying, and inflation doesn't seem to be slowing down. And how much of this money is getting printed out of thin air? Like how much of it is actually just being printed just to cover the expenses of this war? I do not know. And we may never know. Like, I don't really think that anyone's keeping track of the funds, of where this is all going, how much is being spent. We're just dealing with estimates at this point. Very concerning. But, hey, look. If history is a teacher of anything, is that this did happen once when people thought it was impossible and we were at a fever pitch with nuclear conflict. But we were able to come off of that ledge and actually build better relations with each other. And here's hoping that this is the exact same thing that happens again, that we climb off this, I mean, just absolutely insane decision. And do it for the sake of human prosperity and human civilization, because if this goes on to its logical conclusion and it keeps escalating, then it's only a matter of time before somebody makes a mistake or intentionally uses a nuke. And all it takes is one. All it takes is one. And Russia has thousands. Russia has thousands upon thousands upon thousands. Let me see if I can find it here. Yeah, here's the global nuclear warhead inventories according to 2024. Russia is equivalent to the American stockpile, but it has a little bit more. not to mention Russia's allies and the amounts that they have, which is all just concerning stuff. And like I said, it only takes one. It only takes one, and the moment that a nuke flies into the air, you have minutes to decide to launch a counterattack, and all incentives would point to the direction where you are gonna actually hit that button and send millions, billions, eventually, people to their deaths, wipe out all recorded history, wipe out all the contributions that mankind has made. Entire landscapes up in flames. Species gone extinct, including the human race, most likely. And even if you are unlucky enough to survive, you have to live underground because of nuclear winter, as it blocks out the entire sun, so nothing can grow on the surface. And that's going to happen for years and years and years. And this was also simulated with just like the basic nukes, what they had when they dropped it on Japan. What about the stuff that they have now? Does it pale in comparison to what we've seen recorded history of? Very strange. Just going to take a momentary break before moving on to the next segment. We'll be right back. And we're back. Had an issue with our guest there. Sorry for that, folks. Hopefully it'll reconnect. But in the meantime, we'll press on. So, yeah, that's really all I wanted to say about the Ukraine war there. The reason that the story stuck out to me as of late, and we're back, is just because the rate of escalation that's been happening as of late has been quite concerning. And I'm not trying to be Chicken Little here or anything, but it just seems to be moving closer and closer and closer towards nuclear conflict, which, like I've stated many times at this point, even one would devastate us, even one. And we're up against a nation that has an arsenal of thousands, and we have thousands of our own, but one mishap, one miscommunication, one incident where a screen is misread or a message is misinterpreted or anything. Any number of things could happen. Any number of things could happen, and then that's it. All of human history, philosophy, technological innovation, cultures, languages, everything. Everything dies. That's it. Our dreams of being a spacefaring civilization, gone. Gone. Just gone. Up in smoke. Like it was nobody's business to begin with. So yeah, I would like to avoid that very much so. I am on the side of humanity. I would like to avoid that as much as possible. And one thing that could actually help us, if we're going to segue into this, is the brand spanking new D.O.G.E department that Trump is launching with his presidency. For anyone that's not unaware, Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy has been tapped to work essentially on a collaborative project with the U.S. government. So this will not be a department within the government itself. This will be an outside body that would help inform the government of certain decisions or information that would be pertinent to their operations. And the operations of this department, the Department of Government Efficiency, aka D.O.G.E, is, well, I mean, it's in the name, to determine how efficient the government can be and what needs to be done to make it more efficient. So that means the funding of programs. You're talking about the various expenditures, potentially even real estate dealings of all these different organizations and departments within the governments. Essentially, well, as it says here in the reading, or sorry, in the notice, to slash excess regulations, cut wasteful expenditures, and restructure federal agencies. Which is quite the undertaking, considering that America has quite literally the most funded government body on the face of the planet. What is their actual budget? Now I'm actually just curious. What is the size of America's budget? 6.9 trillion. 6.9 trillion. Give me a map that says the budget of all nations around the globe. Let's just get a comparison going. No, that's government revenues. This is also government revenues. No. Military spending, contribution to fund the United Nations. Okay, well, this is actually an illustrative map right here. In red, you'll see countries with a GDP smaller than the U.S. military budget. So this is not smaller than the entire U.S. budget, because everyone would be red in that case. And this is blue is for countries with the GDP that's higher than the U.S. military budget. Like, that's a good chunk of the world right there. That's basically half of South America, the entirety of Africa, Greenland and Iceland, chunks of Eastern Europe, and Central Asia. And I believe that's... No, that's not Kazakhstan. I think is that Mongolia? My geography is awful. I apologize, folks. In any case, I think this illustrates the point of just how big of a government they have. right? And at the end of the day, who's to say that this government is running at 100% max efficiency and that they are not wasting any amount of taxpayer dollars whatsoever, that they are not wasting anything, that there is no waste whatsoever? Like, do we really believe that? Like, is that really the case? I mean, is that really the case that there is absolutely no government waste? Well, here's some examples of just that. And these sound like insane and ridiculous, but they are real. Like this, but you're more than welcome to check the sources. They're all up on the Substack there. There was a study that was financing $356,000 worth by the U.S. government to determine whether cocaine use is linked to increased risky sexual behavior in Japanese quail. Now, if I was a betting man, that sounds like some fucking money laundering shit to me. That does not sound like there was this giant fervor in the scientific community to find out just how much cocaine would affect the sexual habits of quail. Very strange. Just very strange. Just looks very strange on the face of it. And that's just one study. Here's another one. A $700,000 study to determine whether Neil Armstrong's famous quote was transcribed accurately. And this is reported by the Washington Examiner. There's a waste report that Rand Paul releases every year, apparently. Oh, I guess the PDF is not linked to this. So yeah, so there's 700,000 right then and there. Roughly $200 billion stolen from COVID initiatives, says the federal watchdog. And then you have $500,000 that was spent on maintaining a toilet that hasn't been flushed since 2017. Now, all this seems strange, right? You would think like that this doesn't sound right, but this is from the official report that's published by the Inspector General within the DC metro area. I mean, this is their words. Like they're just showing what's happening. These are all just facts that you can gather from that report. 500,000 on a fucking toilet. Meanwhile, they have homeless veterans littering the streets in some places. $9 billion to oh Jesus, this one's a fucking doozy. They're trying to build a high-speed rail system within California, which of all the places to build it, I guess that makes sense with not only their GDP, the fact that it's rivaling a good chunk of nations around the globe, but that if any place is going to get futuristic shit like this, it's going to be California. So far, they've spent, it says, $9 billion. It's estimated to cost $105 billion total upon completion, and not a single track has been laid. Like, absolutely none. And the costs just keep going up. Now, this isn't federal expenditures. This is state, right? So I just want to make that clear. I'm not making the distinction that this is part of, like, some federal initiative. But nonetheless, like, $9 billion fucking dollars and nothing has happened yet. I would have a lot of questions. I would have a lot of questions. And here's another example where $98 million of Illinois taxpayer dollars went to dampen the noise caused by braking trains outside of a former property tax client's business. Just very strange on the face of it, that like where a lot of this money is going. And these are just what? There's 6 examples here. This is just 6 examples, ranging from the early 2010s up until now. Oh, who's to say like this just hasn't been going on for the longest time? Who's to say that these programs never shut down? Who's to say that the future programs that are now being developed and pushed aren't going to cost even more? The point is, the government is not infallible. These are people, okay? And these people are just as likely to fall prey to the same human emotions that make us all vulnerable. They are just as likely to be vindictive. They're just as likely to be depressed, to be angry, to be vile, vengeful, you name it. The government is just people. Like these are not people that are born of a different type. They're not biologically any different. They're just people. And they're just as liable to be corrupt. They're just as liable to waste time and money and effort and what have you. See, except the thing is, when I go into a job, right, if I go into my day job and that happens enough times, my boss fires me and that's it. But with the government, we don't really have that chance. We're just kind of hoping that the people we elect are going to abide by our wishes and their promises that they made to us, even though they technically don't really have an obligation to, just so long as it keeps them in power. And beyond that, it's up to them what they decide to do. And there's no consequence. Like, when's the last time that anybody has ever gone to jail for this? When's the last time that anybody has ever suffered any real consequences from the wasting of taxpayer dollars? Jesus fucking Christ, like $200 billion stolen from COVID-19 relief initiatives. I don't like, how do you make that much of an accounting error that you can't even keep track of that? Or the $500,000 that's spent on a self-cleaning toilet. I mean, Jesus, if I read enough of these stories, my blood pressure's going to keep going up. This is insane. This is insane. You have entire cities where people are sleeping on the streets. The opiate crisis is still in full swing. North Carolina and Florida are still reeling from the hurricane. Hawaii has yet to be rebuilt. That crisis is still here. And look, I'm not even American, okay? I'm Canadian. And I'm not trying to involve myself in this realm of politics as an expert or anything, but I just want to say this is not unique to the US. This is happening in Canada here too. Okay, we have, Jesus, I could just rattle them off. This goes on and on and on. 400 million has been given by the Canadian government to help India, Indonesia, Philippines, and South Africa transition off coal. 400 million. Okay. Sure, 400 million just going to that. Fine. I guess you could make the argument that it's environmentally conscious because the sooner we get these people off coal and closer towards renewables, that this would make an impact, especially considering that most of the world's emissions, the CO2 and whatnot, comes from countries that are like India and China and so on and so forth, right? All these developing nations. Well, China's not a developing nation, it's a developed nation, but you get my point. Here is 1.66 million going to the greening of the global financial system. And apparently it's going to UN member states and UN agencies, which, what does that even fucking mean? It says, leveraging the United Nations platform to build international support for the strategy of the UN Special Envoy on Climate Action and what does that even mean? To build international support? Does that mean that, you're taking people out to dinner to convince them of something? Working with UN entities and government, the private sector, and civil society to deliver on the mandate resulting from the high-level event on financing for development in May 2020 in the era of COVID-19 and beyond. What is that? What does working mean? What does this actually mean? Just logistically speaking, what goes in to this work? I don't know. I find it very strange. So there's that example. We can just keep going. There's a whole thread of these. And I highly recommend following this account, Nyapfanner, that's spelled Nyapfanner. A lot of Canadian journalism is happening from independent accounts like hers and Andy Lee. Andy Lee, I also recommend that you guys give a follow if you're Canadian, because you're not getting the straight cut news from CTV and CBC. It's thanks to independent journalists like these that we are able to know all this, because I don't remember of a single news segment that was covering any stories like this, which just beggars the question. I mean, Jesus fucking Christ. In Canada, we're having record high food bank usage rates. Housing has never been more expensive than ever. And people just feel like they've been abandoned, completely left alone by their nation that's supposed to protect their interests of their citizens. And it makes no sense. So it's thanks to these people, thanks to independent journalists, that we actually have these facts, because they're one of the few people that are actually talking about this. Oh, here, 100,000 for on air for Gender inclusive nature-based climate solutions in Africa. Fucking what? In gender inclusive nature-based climate solutions in Africa. How many layers of context do I have to go through to understand like what this money is for? I don't. What does that mean? What the fuck? What does that even mean? What does gender equality mean? Or gender inclusive? Which genders are you including here? If we're going off the mandate of the Canadian government, there's more than 2, right? But does Africa share that sentiment? Does that mean that we're also encapsulating those people in this program? Like, I just, that's so strange. And like, what, the climate, quote unquote, the climate crisis, as they call it, affects men and women differently on like a microcosm that needs to be addressed with hundreds of thousands of dollars? I don't know. I have questions. At the least, I have questions. At the least, I have questions of where the fuck this money's going. $8 million for climate change action for gender-sensitive resilience. Once again, I'm dumbfounded. What the fuck does that mean? And where's this money going? To the United Nations? For fucking what? $8 million. Like it's nothing. And this is just, keep in mind, folks, this is just one thread. Okay, this was all gathered from a website where you can actually see all of these. Like here's the actual thing. All these global initiatives. Look at this shit. How many of these are actually legitimate? How many of these actually have accountable funding? How many of these have some kind of, I don't know, member of parliament or any sense of accountability? I'm very confused as to how we are able to so comfortably sign off so much money and be okay with it. And not only be okay with it, but like most people don't even realize this. Most people don't even know that that this program is a thing. Like I said, it's because of these independents that we have all this information, and it's thanks to these journalists, right, that are scouring the government websites. It's just it's very strange. I have a lot of questions. It's very strange. So I started this whole little bit here because Donald Trump is creating this Department of Government Efficiency. This is exactly why. This is exactly why we need shit like this. And you know the people that are working within these programs, the government representatives that are like whose job it is to talk about these things and promote these initiatives, you know they're nervous. You know for a fact that they must be nervous because if Trump is coming along and cutting this in America, in the biggest government, the most funded government in the history of the world, if they can do that in America, that shows that this can be done elsewhere. If it could be done in the biggest place, in the largest bureaucracy known to man, why can't it be done anywhere else with smaller governments? Why can't waste expenditures be looked at closer? Like at the end of the day, like these people, they work for us. We don't work for them. They work for us. The government is run by public officials whose salaries we all pay. And the money that we pay them with, like the best way that I like to look at it is that the money that we pay them with, right, is a portion of our life that we're giving. Because anytime that you're at work or whatever, you're getting paid for the time. And the time that you have on this planet is not infinite. In fact, with every passing second, it gets less and less and less and less and less. So what you give your time to is very important because you are quite literally giving away your life to it. And when you frame it like that means that these people are more than happy to spend millions or hundreds of thousands of dollars on all these frivolous projects, on all these silly little things with no consequence, little to no accountability. Nobody's really going into why this costs so much, except some independent journalists on Twitter, and God knows if they're even going to get a big enough audience for this to matter. And this is just Canada, okay? This is just Canada. This is just Canada and America. Who's to say what's happening in Europe? Who's to say what's happening in South America? Who's to say what's happening in China, in Africa? Like this is a global problem. This isn't just isolated to these these two nations in North America. Right? This has global potential because if this goes well, if they succeed enabling the party of Doge, or enabling the organization and fulfilling their mandate. If this succeeds, this sends a lesson to the rest of the world that it can be done, that it can and should be done. And look, say what you want about Musk, the man cut 80% of the workforce on Twitter, and the app still remains not only like well functioning for the most part, right? I mean, the performance, it's just about as equal as any other social media platform. It has its ups and downs. It's not infallible. They're not perfect, right? And it still remains to like among the most popular of platforms globally. You hear news on Twitter you don't hear anyone anywhere else, because every single major government body, every single major news organization has a presence on Twitter. They're following Twitter. Even the ones that are leaving, you know that they have either some burner accounts or even a cursory glance at Twitter whenever a story is breaking, because it always breaks on Twitter first. All the time. Trump tweets on Twitter, for fuck's sake. Like, if you want to know what's happening in the world, Twitter is the place to be. You're not going to get it from Boomer Book or Facebook, right? You're not going to get it from Instagram. That place is a shithole, okay? Twitter is where it's at. And the man managed to cut 80% of its workforce, and it's still remaining on top. So if he can do that with the business, and I'm not saying the government is the same thing, but just that alone, at least to me, signals that, yeah, if anyone's going to do it, it's going to be Elon Musk. Like, if anyone's going to be capable of doing something like this, of enabling such a change, Elon Musk would certainly be part of that conversation. Vivek Ramaswamy as well. It's great to hear that that he's a part of this, because his entire campaign he was talking about restructuring all these federal agencies, CIA, Department of Education, FBI, all these things. And why not? Why not? Why not make all these changes? And why not have them spread out into the globe? Like, are we going to sit here and pretend that our governments are fully representative of the people's demands, and that they are somehow held accountable? To who? By what force? Here in the West, it's whatever we let them get away with, and even then they can still fucking do what they want for the most part. You know, as long as it doesn't encroach on too many rights, but a couple of rights here and there, it's all right, no big deal. In 2008, when they had the financial crisis, banks signed themselves bonuses on top of getting a bailout from the federal government. Millions of people lost their jobs. Millions of people lost their businesses, their houses. Untold amounts of people have lost their lives as a result of committing suicide, or having to, or just losing their job and not having anything to eat, or to eat on, rather, no income. And no accountability since then. None. Nothing has been done. So yeah, if you ask me, this department, absolutely. We absolutely need more initiatives like this. We need more bold changes. Because at the end of the day, like, the issues that we're dealing with, okay, like the fertility rate that's plummeting around the world, the amount of automation that's going to take so many people's jobs in the next, like, 5-10 years, the issue with cryptocurrencies and how governments are trying to insert themselves into the blockchain by having their own digital coins. All these issues that we're dealing with, and like what warfare is going to look like with drones, all these things, they cannot be solved by a government that has remained largely unchanged since, I mean, I don't know when. Like, have there really been that many improvements in the services that they offer? Still takes you a couple months to get a passport. You know, public transit just about in every developed city continues to lose money. Infrastructure is crumbling, at least in both Canada and America to an extent. And they're not exactly efficient. They're not, as proven by all these studies that we looked up. I mean, like I said, this is only a handful of them. You want to see all the studies, you're more than welcome to read all the global initiatives and everything that at least Canada's giving its money to, let alone the U.S., right? Like, we're not even getting into the U.S. or any other nation for that matter. So all these issues that I mentioned, all these things that seem larger than life, I have a hard time believing that the governments as they are now will be able to handle them. I have a hard time believing that they will not only handle them, but also handle them with the people's best interests in mind. I don't really have that faith. So maybe a department like this, a department that goes in to trim the fat in as many areas as possible, as quickly as possible, is actually part of the solution. You know, maybe something like this will actually start a global initiative where other people around the globe can look at their own governments and say, hey, maybe we should look a little closer at the budget. Maybe we should look a little closer at how you're wasting all our money. Not all the money, but a good portion of it. A portion of it that makes me uncomfortable. Yeah. Why not? These people work for us. We don't work for them. They work for us. They are supposed to take our money and use it wisely to protect us, to protect our property, to protect our rights and freedoms. Doesn't look like they've been doing all that. Doesn't look like they've been doing a good enough job at all that either. So yeah, I for one am pretty fucking excited that Musk is going to be part of this, that Vivek is going to be part of this, and that this could launch something new. Because at the end of the day, look, if we're being if I'm being frank, if I could be frank, at this rate, I'll take AI government. At this rate, if there is an open source AI model that someone is working on that will show its training data and open that up as much as it is possible to do so with AI, and give it the reins, or at least give it the ability to input on some of these decisions that just make logical sense and not as much emotional sense, or just anything that enables us to look at governance without the circus that it has become, I'm open to that. I'm open to it. I'm not saying plug in ChatGPT into the D.O.G.E, but look, they had their shot. They had their shot. All these public representatives, all these people that profess to be arbiters of truth and justice, racial equality, that pretend to support you, all these even Trump is not infallible here. I'm not even defending him in this. He's got plenty of his own problems too, with the promises that he's made and the way that he acts. It would be great if we didn't have to worry about any of that, if we just had a system on autopilot. If we just had a system on autopilot that was open source and people could see its decisions, and eggs didn't cost you $5, or butter costing you 6 or 8. You know, that would be nice. That would be a nice change of things. So who knows? Who knows? But I for one, I'm very excited. This could mean a lot of great things. Because just like with culture or technology or anything, the US has tended to be on the forefront of that, and the world kind of slowly follows for the most part. And if the D.O.G.E department ends up being the success I hope it is, then Jesus Christ, maybe, just maybe, we might stand a chance going into the future. Because man, there are much bigger things on our plates than what we're being told. I mean, like for fuck's sake, like the fertility crisis. We're not talking enough about that. How replacement rates are just plummeting. How a lot of the culture that's built on in the West is not centered around family values. And that's not exactly helping with government messaging and the programs that they fund. Like, that remains to be a big problem, and coming back from it is going to be very difficult. So who knows what's in store for us? But I hope that future has D.O.G.E involved in it. The Department of Government, what was it, Excess? Efficiency. Department of Government Efficiency. Which also, that's a meme in and of itself. That's amazing how fucking, that Musk was working on that acronym long before this got announced. God, I love that. That's just having that little bit of humor with it too. It just makes the medicine go down all the better. Yeah. Incredible. We got memes in office now. Just straight up memers in charge of the levers of power. Well, not in charge. Like I said, this is a collaborative effort. They don't exactly have like standing power, at least from this notice here, from what it says, from what Trump said, to actively fire anyone, but like to make suggestions. So that's another thing. Maybe there might be a conflict of interest or just some kind of interpersonal conflict where Trump just simply disagrees with their recommendation, and maybe Elon Musk walks. Who knows? I hope that doesn't happen. I hope they find a way to collaborate, because this could lead to some very exciting things. More money into space exploration, more money into solving the opiate crisis, more money into combating the violence of the cartels and the illegal immigration, more money into creating manufacturing jobs, more money to repairing infrastructure, more money to all the homeless veterans, more money to all of these things. Because it certainly doesn't look like they've been spending our tax dollars in the best of ways. So anything that could help that, I think it leverages humanity's capabilities by just that extra amount that we'll need to get over these challenges. Yeah, it's all very exciting. I mean, shit, they got fucking RFK running the what department is RFK running? Department of Health or something? Department of Health and Human Services, which is going to overlook the CDC, FDA, and NIH, which, my God, what a move that is. Hearing him at the podium is going to be hilarious just because of his accent, which, okay, let's be real, it is kind of funny at times the way he talks. But that's wild. And he's already talking about removing fluoride from the water and seed oils and all this stuff, which made it even funnier when, where's that photo? I have it somewhere here. Where's that photo of RFK with a burger? Oh, this.
This is
Just pretend it's a dead dog, Robert. You could just see the pain in his eyes. Fuck. God damn it. That is funny. Amazing. What a photo. Also, shout out real quick. Okay, there's a meme that's been going on about this, about D.O.G.E. Where is this guy? I just started following him. Okay, Bone GPT. For anyone that doesn't know, okay, Bone GPT dropped this AI art that was essentially taken from this image, but stylized naturally. Okay. And he captioned it as saying that it predicted that this meeting was predicted by a painter in 1721 by D.O.G.E, which obviously D's nuts. And you might think, haha, okay, that's funny. No. If I look this up right now, okay, this is actually going to give me results. Meaning there are entire news organizations, fucking Newsweek, fact check this. Newsweek, fact check this. In India, it's covered. All these websites, look at this. All these websites. YouTube, fucking, it's everywhere. It's all across Facebook and everywhere. Let me go back to his profile because he had a couple of these funny reactions. Come on. Yeah, people on Twitter retweeting it like crazy. Like it went viral. You had actual articles written about this. And people are fact checking, which is incredible. Shout out to Bone GPT. Shoot him a follow. The guy's he's fucking hilarious. Just absolutely psyoped everyone. So you have that. So you have RFK, and then Tulsi Gabbard. What's her position with Trump? I think it's something to do with intelligence. I forget the actual title. Director of National Intelligence, which means that she's going to be overseeing the U.S.'s 18 intelligence agencies, which includes the CIA and NSA. And it does require Senate confirmation, so you know that confirmation is going to get heated. Because Hillary Clinton was bold enough to call her a Russian agent on the national stage. Which I don't understand how you can just make that accusation. But I guess if you're Hillary, anything that doesn't go your way is Russian. So I guess that fits her bill. I mean, for fuck's sake, this lady actually fought on behalf of the U.S. The reason that she has that gray streak in her hair is because of the time she spent as a combat medic. I'm pretty sure it was Iraq that she was in. Where did she serve? Yeah, she was a congressman. She served as a lieutenant colonel in the U.S. Army Reserve, with deployments to Iraq and Kuwait. She's been involved in several military roles since the enlisting in the Army National Guard after the September 11th attacks. Okay, like, this is somebody who's actually served, so they have an understanding of what it means to be in that conflict, and especially as a combat medic, to see the consequences of it. And she's a woman of color, if you want to extend the tree, the olive branch that far to the left. She's the perfect person for this position, and yet Hillary Clinton labeled her a Russian fucking asset. Which, Jesus Christ, like, how... Number one, how vindictive do you have to be to say that? And then two, how could you be so wrong about somebody? I mean, of all the people to be a Russian asset, like, Tulsi Gabbard is the last person you'd pick. So yeah, all these exciting picks, all these just department appointments, it really feels like things are headed in a new direction toward in regards to governance. At least right now, on the face of it, we'd like I said earlier, there could be interpersonal conflicts. Trump might not agree with some of their recommendations or decisions. They could very well be fired. The first presidency that we saw, people were flying in and out of office for the longest time. But I guess now with the second go around, Trump has a better understanding of how these appointments work and who he can trust. And the fact that all of these people that he has picked, except with the exception of Elon Musk, I'm pretty sure, have all tried to run for office or have held office at one point or another. It just makes it really interesting because it's like that they're finally getting a shot at what they've wanted to do. And that they are trusted enough by Trump and his inner circle that they are the ones for the job. So things are looking real exciting down south. I hope you guys keep it up. If this goes well, like I said earlier, this will send a signal to the rest of the world that a government for the people and by the people is possible. And I mean, even that might be too big of a statement to say, like, look, at the end of the day, Trump is a politician. He will only do things that are popular, or at least lean into the popularity of things. And he has plenty of his own flaws. So this is not necessarily going to save a nation, but this seems like it's emboldening a lot of people to have or at least enable a cultural shift of some sort. I mean, in this election, this is the first time that a Republican has won the popular vote. And a lot of those people, were in some way, shape, or form to the left, and they felt disillusioned by them. And now they're making a different change. So who knows what will happen? There's no way to predict it. I'm excited for it, frankly. I'm excited because, like I said, that any time that America wins, it can serve as a lesson to the rest of us in our own other nations to take a look at that and be like, hey, what can we learn from that? Maybe that could be implemented. Maybe we could make that kind of a change. Maybe we could reassess this, reassess that. There's things to learn. I just hope the lessons we learn are actually useful. That they're useful and they push us further towards becoming an interplanetary species, towards eradicating all these issues of homelessness and unemployment and loss of purpose that we're facing in the tail end of the 2020s. Here's hoping. Who knows what'll happen? But I'm excited. Yeah, that's all I really want to say on that. If you guys want to see the write-up of all the things that I've been talking about and some of the sources that I've used, it's up on my Substack. You can find a link on the profile. that is, yeah, I think that's all I really wanted to get out of my mind there. Apologies for that guest issue there. She had some technical difficulties, but hey, we made the best of it in the end. Thanks for anyone that tuned in. Same time next week, around 5 or 6 Eastern. Watch out for my Twitter page at Whitepill. That's WH1, like the number 1, TEPILL. That's my at. Yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. Excited to see what we come up with next week. Here's hoping that the Ukraine war de-escalates and that people calm the fuck down, because I would like to have another podcast next week. I would like to record next week and hug my mom and spend time with my family and friends and not have to worry about living underground, as I think millions of people around the globe also, would agree with me on that. And here's hoping that the D.O.G.E department does well and sets a lesson for the rest of us that it can be achieved, that we can indeed loosen the grip that government has on people's lives and leave people the fuck alone to their own devices so that we can just get back to building and worrying about the proper things. Because we don't need this big of a government role in our lives. People were doing, just fine years ago when it wasn't nearly as invasive as it is now. And we desperately need to get back to that. Too many interests involved in this and too much corruption. In any case, I'm just rattling at this point. But yeah, thanks again for tuning in. Looking forward to next week. I will see you guys later.